There is one thing that differs Bulgaria's digital economy significantly. Almost 1/3 of the IT specialists and nearly half of the IT students in Bulgaria are women. Meet the role models of Europe's feminine IT hub.
I believe women's presence in IT sector is extremely important because we need to see more female models. Young women like me can follow.
I believe that women have a very special place in the future of technology because any successful company of the future will need to be purpose-led.
I really want to see more women around me because I believe that they're the ones who can genuinely combine a strong social impact with a business mission.
Women in digital are so important because we can naturally add an emotional, more sensitive touch to the storytelling.
We build products with practicality and common sense. And if I may say, with a little bit less ego.
Women have the right mindset to turn companies into families.
Girls' approach is helping to refocus the business from technology-centric to people-centric.
Women are to play a key role in driving this transition to a new equilibrium in the world.
I believe women are the ones who can make the magic happen.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry, but today it's mainly about the ladies. So, ladies, welcome to today's event. What a great way to start. 10 digital leaders. And believe me if you want, I know all of them, and believe me if you want, but they are just a part of the digital army of women in technology, women leaders in Bulgaria. In fact, did you know that there are twice as many women in tech in Bulgaria compared to the European average? You've seen 30% of the IT specialists in Bulgaria are actually women. This makes Bulgaria ranking #1 for female ICT specialists in Europe. This encouraging number is just one of the reasons why Sofia is proud to set the stage today for this year's European Conference for Women's Leadership in the Digital Economy, gathering representatives of the business, of the non-profit, and public sectors for women in technology. My name is Bond, James, I'm sorry, for real, my name is Nick, in short, the long one is Nikola Yanev. I am Marketing Director of 11 Ventures and President of Started Smart. And today, it's my honor to be your master of ceremony. We are here today to meet European leaders in the digital field who will share their personal development path and experience supporting women and girls on their journey to becoming digital leaders. We are here today to discuss how women leaders can effectively partner to support female leadership in the digital world, and different ways to transform the common perception of women in tech. We, all of us, are here today to discuss women's role. And last but not least, we are here today to talk about how women leaders can contribute addressing the social challenges in the world and start up new ventures, changing that same world, our world. Because something really important, she is a leader. She is digital. She is a diva, and she starts up with an impact. May I have your applause for her? Today's event is hosted by the Bulgarian Center of Women in Technology. The SHEleader at Digital Conference is part of the official calendar of the Bulgarian Presidency of the Council of the European Union. The conference is under the official patronage of the Bulgarian Commissioner for Digital Economy and Society, Mrs. Mariya Gabriel, and it is organized in partnership with the representation of the European Commission in Bulgaria. In order for me today to have a bit more of an edge as a speaker, because I'm sure you see and you know that I'm nervous, I tried to get into the flow of the branding of the event. You know, it's all about pink, it's all about other interesting and soft colors. So I tried to hook up myself with a pink tie or pink handkerchief. Didn't work out. They were like, are you crazy? Who wears pink? And I'm like, I would like to wear pink. So I DIY'd myself a pink bracelet, and I'm rocking my pink socks today. I hope you appreciate that. Okay, thank you. So in my next words, you have to bear with me, because we will have to thank all of the organizations that gathered today and joined forces to support this event. So I would like to give the special thanks from myself, from the whole team, and all of the representatives of this event to MoveBG, Google, EMAC, VMware, Dell EMC, Uber, DSK Bank, SAP, STEMO, United Partners, Katarzyna, Bulgarian Industrial Association, NDB, Hewlett-Packard Enterprise, and Douglas Perfumery. There are so many other community partners also which gathered together and joined forces to support this event. So may I have your strongest applause for them. Thank you. And because I know it's going to be a long day and you're impatient to see what's happening next, without further delay, I would like to invite you to watch together the video welcome address by the female leader, Minister of the Bulgarian Presidency of the Council of the EU 2018, Lilyana Pavlova. Unfortunately, she had to hop on a plane and head to Strasbourg to deal with important meetings, but she didn't want to miss the opportunity to welcome us all. Let's watch the video.
Уважаеми гости на форума, скъпи дигитални и иновативни дами, добре дошли! За мен е голяма чест и удоволствие да ви приветствам с добре дошли на този форум. Но признавам, че правя това видеообращение със смесени чувства. От една страна, много се радвам, че мога да изразя подкрепата на българското председателство за тази изключително важна тема. В същото време, искрено съжалявам, че не мога лично да се срещна днес с вас. В момента съм в Брюксел и въпреки, че ние жените сме известни с уменията си да вършим 100 неща едновременно, все още не сме измислили как да бъдем едновременно на поне 2 места. Но благодарение на цифровата революция, може би вече не ни се налага. Тя създава нови възможности, чрез които ние можем да работим, да създаваме и да си общуваме от всяко кътче на света. Тя ни дава възможност да намерим баланс между работния и личния живот. Можем да вземем децата си от училище, а ако имаме неотложни задачи, както съм сигурна, че много от вас, като лидери в своите професионални сфери имате, можем да ги свършим чрез телефона си, дори и чрез часовника си. Разбира се, това не решава въпроса за баланса между личния и професионалния живот. Затова нашето председателство работи усилено над законодателно предложение в тази сфера. То засяга родителските права и не само на жените. Може би ще ви изненадам, но един от трудните аспекти на тази европейска директива е удължаването на отпуска за бащинство. Позициите на страните членки са много различни и това само показва, че има още много предразсъдъци, с които трябва да се справим. Един от основните приоритети на българското председателство е цифрова Европа и уменията на бъдещето. За нас те са свързани. Цифровизацията създава невероятни възможности, но ние трябва да имаме инструментите и уменията, за да се възползваме от тях. Мисля, че ролята на жените в това е ключова. Вие знаете, че България има най-високия процент жени в ICT сферата, но това не е случайно. Ние имаме и най-високия дял в Европа на жени студенти по ICT технологии – 34%, при 17% средно за Европейския съюз. Както и най-много жени в научно-изследователската дейност – 51%, а средното за Европейския съюз е само 21%. Ние искаме да предадем този опит, но и да го надградим. на национално и на европейско ниво. Затова разчитаме на всички вас, които сте тук днес, иноватори, изследователи, предприемачи, мениджъри и студенти. Искрено благодаря на Саша Безуханова за организацията на този форум и за нейната инициатива Women Leaders at Digital for Europe и се надявам всички вие да можете да се присъедините към нея. Успех!
We are really grateful to Mrs. Pavlova for this video message. However, it's not just her today that she's unable to join us. There are hundreds of participants who wanted to join, but due to security reasons didn't manage to, of the whole EU presidency. However, we thought of that, and we are actually live streaming the event on Facebook. So, because today we are talking about women in technology, grab that link, send it to your mother, grandmother, aunt, and all of the female representatives of your family, because today we're speaking about technology. Not just technology, but women in technology. And speaking about women, I'm really happy that today most of the people, I would say 99% that I will be inviting to the stage, are from the female gender, which is really nice. There are just 2, I think, or 3 male speakers. And speaking of this, I would like to invite the first speaker, which is a special one, like all of you. But she is not just a senior executive, not just an angel investor, not just a philanthropist with over 20 years of executive experience, but she is the person that stands behind this whole event. She is the person who stands behind a lot of initiatives regarding women in technology in Bulgaria. Her name is Sasha Bezuhanova. She is a chairperson of the Bulgarian Center of Women in Technology. And she's founder of MoveBG, the non-partisan platform for collaboration in finding sustainable solutions for the state, economy, and society via innovation. Sasha also founded in 2013 the yearly Entrepreneur Award, which I had the pleasure to be jury of, by the way, last year. And I can tell you, the ladies there and the leadership qualities that they have are just astonishing. And I'm so happy that this is a competition that's able to literally pick, find, and highlight the new women leaders of tomorrow. Sasha was also named Digital Woman of Europe for 2013 and one of the top 100 challengers in New Europe 100 for 2015. May I have your applause for Sasha Bezuhanova.
Mrs. Commissioner Gabriel, Your Excellencies, dear ladies and gentlemen, I'm really privileged to stand as the first speaker before you today on this very important topic of women in digital economy. And I perceive the forum of today as particularly important because it is not about women. It is about leadership in digital era. And I think that having so many selected and hopefully many online participants on the topic will contribute on the understanding and collective wisdom for the importance of women in this process. So speaking about women, women human rights and women participation in the social development of the world are for quite some time on the agenda in the world. There are lots of movements, initiatives, activist campaigns that are standing for women freedom, for women human rights, and a lot has been achieved. It is due to digital connectedness that many of those initiatives today are getting worldwide great support, and this stimulus achieving really understanding, but also regulatory support on things like home violence for women, or like in Saudi Arabia, having achieved human rights in many critical citizens' participation actions. So we have, and that's one initiative where I've been active, is also in the last couple of years. Due to digital connectivity and social media, only for last year, for women rights against the exploitation of women, have been about 1,000 events that were happening all around the world. We are living in this digital connected world, and when speaking about women and men and economy and social development, obviously this is the environment where we need to think on. But I think that all those important initiatives are rather positioning women as a victim that needs to be saved. And honestly, this is a perspective that is rather expanding the division, the gap between men and women. I like more the approach where we think on how women and men can, with no limitation, with no prejudices, collaborate together, contribute together to the development of our socio-economic environment. And this conference is about this dialogue. We have women's professional participation, women's human rights very high on the agenda of the world leadership today. And there are two reasons, in my view, for this. One is economic. We are living in a digitally connected world. We are living in an environment where economy is digital, no matter what is the specific subject that we are developing. And just this economy needs more specialists. So only in Europe, there are today 700,000 digital professionals that are lacking. And we and the leadership see women as the fastest solution on this. There are lots of business and initiatives that are coming from the European Commission. I'm sure Commissioner Gabriel will share some of those initiatives that are stimulating, inviting women to join professionally, to requalify, and to participate in the digital economy. We in Bulgarian Center of Women in Technologies are also working a lot on this agenda. But also there is another dimension which is connected to the necessity to have digital skillful people that participate not only economically but also socially in the social process. And if we look today, the worldwide data, there are 54% of people in the world that are not on internet. Imagine how easy it will be these people to participate in the tomorrow's world process. For Europe, this data is different. 21% is the internet access gap, but still 20% is a lot. Zooming into the difference between women and men on internet, we'll see that there is another gap of 12% more women that are not connected and not on the agenda. This is adding another challenge and is another layer of division that is an economic factor before the leadership. What also is a trigger that is maybe less understood and less supported today is that this digitally connected world we are living in is going through a fundamental transition because of the digital connectedness, because of the access to the information and its democratization, but also because of the lost balance between the nature and human. This drives totally new agenda that is changing the axiomas on which we are building our world, and is practically changing all the socio-economic systems that are established today in our society. We live in an environment where collaboration is replacing competition. Only in the economic terms, we have a paradox from yesterday's perspective situation where competitors make money because they live on one and the same platform with the people that they compete with. And also that customers, through loyalty systems and the feedback, are participating in building and development of the products of the providers. So the classic corporate model is more and more replaced by this collaborative new type of shared economic animals that are more and more emerging in the new reality. Same for the access to the information. We have already the access to the knowledge fully available everywhere. And even all elite academic institutions opened and published their academic researches, their curricula, to be made available to the public for use. I know that the European Union is planning to publish all the research findings that under the Horizon 2020 has been done in last years, so that they are not only accessible by the researchers in Europe and in the world, but that they are available also to the startups, to everybody who wants to be part and active participants in this innovation process. And this is a new trend that is not yet regulated. This is a new world that is born now, a new world that is really scaring many people because the rules are not known and the perspective is not visible. And this is a situation where the new type of leadership is needed that is able to carry through this transition in an inclusive way this process. I personally think that women that are giving birth, that are growing new life, are in a very, very strong position because of their nature to play a role in this transition. And it's not a coincidence that we see more and more female leaders that are really identified and pop up and supported. And for me, this is a very, very key trend that will help us together in a smooth, in a less conflicting way to really walk through the new world that has and that is based on new axiomas, on new paradigm. And this for me is sharing, collaboration and co-creation. This world is emerging and women are to play a key role into leading to this way. I think that you are with me, that here is not about women replacing men, but it's just to understand and to allow ourselves to open this energy, that feminine way of leadership together with men's environment that has its specific rules is needed in accordance with to transit there. And we need today inclusiveness. You all know that we are at very, very big risks because of these contradictions I've mentioned earlier. There are some events, even from last 24 hours, that are worrying the whole world, and that's in the nature of women. We need bridges between conflicting territories, and I have chosen here on purpose this Silent Women March from Gaza, where Israeli and Palestinian women are marching silently, showing to the world, showing to the people that were in a conflict for years that there is a different way, and that's the feminine way to lead the process and to make transformation and to build bridges. And there is also a need in this new world to think through impact, to have this impact approach, which I believe is embedded in the women nature. But if we look on where we want to be and where emerging leaders and established leaders, as you all in the room are, we should be fair to the truth. We are not yet there. We have, if we look in data, on European level, we have less than 24% women on the board. It is pretty much male-centric thinking, and still this perception that women need to wear dark suits in accordance to be in a corporate leader's role is pretty much the mindset. And we have some examples here today that will challenge this approach. We have today only 11 countries in the world that are led by women. And this really very strong leadership example also needs to have a little bit of changed and balanced view. In payment terms, there are strong differences on a worldwide level. The difference between men and women, the pay gap is 23%, and we have really a way to go in that direction. So something has happened with my presentation. Anyway, obviously this was not uploaded, but I'll tell you what I wanted to tell without slides. So the idea of having these challenges requires new thinking and new approaches, and really working together, men and women, for finding a common solution. And if we continue with this data, and this was mentioned already a couple of times, if we look into how many women are engaged in the digital industry in Europe, they are just 16% today. And in Bulgaria, they are 31. One would say we are number one, we are a leader. I may maybe share what is my view on why this leadership position Bulgaria has. This is because the IT industry has been a traditional industry since the 60s in Bulgaria. There have been many women and men engineers that have been engaged in this industry. And because of that, there are many, many role models, female role models of successful engineers, of successful women in physics, in science, that encouraged the next generation of women to choose this path and line. And I'm mentioning this because we will be talking today a lot, and hopefully we are doing this on a day-to-day basis. Role modeling, the personal examples, is very, very critical for success in this agenda that we are talking today. And what we do in Bulgarian Center of Women in Technologies for 6 years now is to show these role models, to show the women that are in key roles in corporations, in key roles in science, that are successful in the perceived as male reserved territory, what the digital economy is. And we also organize events where professional digital women and women in science are talking non-professional things, because we all have these other social roles as mothers, as family members, as women that need to deal with the other duties that our full functional life is giving. And finally, and this was mentioned by Nick in a very passionate way, we have 4 years now this competition, Entrepreneur Award, which is a platform for girls starting with 16 to present their entrepreneurial ideas, not to get a funding, but just to say to the world, that's my entrepreneurial idea. That's me, that I'm standing behind this idea, to sign it. And through this, we believe that they are making the first step to become entrepreneurs in their path, if they wish so, if they have a talent. That's a way to really, through different initiatives, those prejudices, the unknown limitations to be hopefully limited and over the time overcome. So we are having this SHEleader conference in accordance to have a dialogue on all these topics. And the dialogue, as I said at the beginning of my introduction, is on the leadership in the digital era, on how men and women can work as per their talent together, and also to really build a bridge between today's professional leaders and the emerging female leaders. Many of them are here in the room, and we'll have a chance in the afternoon to hear to some of their ideas and talks, to also look into how those female-led ventures can be financed and supported in an unbiased way, because there is some bias. I know this from my experience also. And also to really build bridges in Europe, bridges in the world between many different initiatives that are taking place today in support of this agenda. And with this, I want to announce an initiative that we start today from our conference, the Coalition Women Leaders and Digital for Europe. Everyone from you can join on the site of SHEleader at Digital Conference, this network, this coalition, which aim to help connecting different initiatives, to stimulate the dialogue and the collaboration, And we see, but of course this is open because we hope that this will be our joint forum platform to develop it from now on, to really give visibility on the female leaders in the digital economy, to define and to support initiatives on how we can empower economically the underprivileged, the women at risk with digital skills and with digital solutions, and also to support the next generation of female leaders. This is about Women Leaders Digital Cent Europe. Please join the coalition. I've joined this morning, and hope this will be a good start from Sofia for a new network and grid that will stimulate and help a bit faster to happen what we have as a cause and all of us stand behind. Thank you for your attention, and I'm sure at the end of this conference today we will be having even bigger common shared wisdom on how we can support the world that is in transition via feminine way of leadership. Thank you.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the SHEleader at Digital Conference. I'm Sheryl Sandberg, COO of Facebook and founder of They Are Safer and Stronger and Produce Better Results. Hi everyone, and welcome to the SHEleader at Digital Conference. I'm Sheryl Sandberg, COO of Facebook and founder of Lina and Option B. I wish I could be with you all, but I'm glad I have the chance to join via video. Everyone in this room is part of an industry that touches so many sectors of society. Through digital technology, people connect with each other, exchange ideas, build businesses, and communities are transformed. That's why this event and the Bulgarian Center for Women in Technology's work to support women in the digital industry is so important. Bulgaria has among the highest number of women in tech in Europe, but women are still underrepresented in the digital world, as they are everywhere. The pace of change in technology is so fast, and we can't afford to leave talent on the sidelines. The future of this field needs the leadership and professional contributions of everyone. Empowering women is both the right thing to do and the smart thing to do. When organizations have more women, especially in leadership, they are safer and stronger and produce better results. I believe each and every one of you has the power to be a change maker, and I hope this conference inspires you to create more opportunities for women, for mentoring women, and for getting more women into leadership. Because when women succeed, we all succeed.
We are really thankful to Sheryl for the address. Sasha, thank you for giving us this overview also. Something interesting for me, speaking of digital and speaking of women, is that our office right now of 11 Ventures is based in the Telerik Academy building. That, you know, is one of the, actually the most active and biggest IT specialists academy in Bulgaria. And just going around the office, I really like talking to the people in the campus, in the whole building. And I noticed, and I was really happy with this fact, that along with all of the male developers that go to the academy, there's so many ladies which go and study in this academy. And one day I was just wandering around the whole building, and as I said, I like talking to the people in the building and the whole campus, in the community, and ask one of the ladies, what makes you go to this academy? What makes you learn more about IT, learn more about digital? And she's like, well, you know, first of all, it's really interesting for me. Making something with your own brain, with your own hands, and making it move or making it appear on a screen, that's like a new thing for us. It's a new thing for us all. It's the future. She said, but secondly, most of all, we as human beings, we have to be in sync with the latest trends, future trends of what's happening in our world. And I thought to myself, that's really smart, and such initiatives help so many people. And speaking of this, I'm not sure if you know, but increasing the participation of women in digital sector and digital technology is one of the priorities, actually, of the European Commission. SHEleader at Digital, I'm sure you know that, is held under the official patronage of the Commissioner in charge of Digital Economy and Society, Mariya Gabriel. And it is a big honor for us to have her here today as a keynote speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, I think there is no other woman in the European Commission which supports digital transformation and the female participation in it more than her. Please welcome to the stage Mrs. Mariya Gabriel.
Уважаема госпожо Безуханова, Ваши превъзходителства, скъпи представители на изпълнителната власт, технологичните организации, гражданското общество, скъпи дигитални лидери, дами и господа, за мен е истинска чест и удоволствие да бъда днес тук с вас на конференцията SHEleader at Digital 2018. Най-напред искам да благодаря на госпожа Безуханова и нейния екип за, както винаги, перфектната организация, но най-вече за неуморния дух, за усилията, за невероятната енергия и вдъхновението, което сте за нас, защото само така, всеки ден, на терен, с визия, обърната към бъдещето, но визия, която е базирана на ценности, каквото са равенството между мъжете и жените, можем и го правим, напредваме. Затова имаме и толкова добри примери, затова такъв пример е и България. За мен е изключителна чест да съм днес с вас. Това събитие е много важно за мен. Не само защото съм патрон на събитието, а защото темата е много близка до сърцето ми и на нея посвещавам голяма част от работата си като комисар. И не защото става въпрос за жените, а защото това е въпрос, който засяга напредъка и просперитета на нашите общества. Освен това, като български гражданин съм горда, че именно София е домакин на тази годишната Европейска конференция за лидерство на жените, защото всички чухме цифрите. България заема първо място в Европейския съюз по отношение на представителството на жените в IT сектора. Двойно повече от средното за Европа. Това е резултат, който ни служи за пример в пътя напред. Нека и България продължи да бъде добрия пример, че една по-разнообразна технологична среда води до по-добри продукти и по-добри услуги. Няма съмнение, че бъдещето на Европа е цифрово. И то трябва да включва всички. Силно вярвам, че това цифрово бъдеще трябва да дава равни възможности на жените и мъжете. В този смисъл ролята на жените и пълноценното им участие в цифровата трансформация на Европа е от решаващо значение. И като казвам решаващо, това не е случайно. Нека видим част от фактите. Жените представляват 52% от европейското население. В момента обаче те съставляват само 30% от предприемачите и 32% от икономическите лидери. Това е голям парадокс. Оказва се, че имаме предприемачески и лидерски потенциал в Европа, който все още има нужда да бъде по-ясно изведен напред. Тези цифри повдигат въпроса за равенството между мъжете и жените. Защото ние знаем, в Европейски съюз за нас е ценност. Всеки един от нас да разполага с необходимите средства и инструменти, за да поеме контрола върху живота си. За това обаче е важно да не губим време в предприемането на действия. Не можем да лишим нашите предприятия, сектори в икономиката, обществата ни от таланта на жените. Наблюдаваме икономически пречки пред жените, продиктувани от порочен кръг, от взаимно подсилващи се ограничения, свързани с пола, стереотипите, особеностите в образователните системи. Това важи особено за жените, работещи в областта на технологиите и цифровите информации. Резултатът е цифрова пропаст между мъжете и жените по време на тази безпрецедентна цифрова трансформация. Европа не може да си позволи тази ситуация повече. Повече жени в цифровите и информационни технологии биха позволили на Европейския съюз годишно да има увеличение на своя брутен вътрешен продукт с 16 милиарда евро. Само нека помислим колко средства са това за модернизиране на нашите образователни системи, за нашите европейски шампиони в областта на предприемачеството. Това са пропуснати шансове. Много важно е да бъде подобрена предприемаческата среда, за да може жените, добавяйки многообразие, да покажат голямата стойност, която те добавят на пазара като цяло. Жените са двигатели на растежа и напредъка. Позволете ми да кажа, че ако всички сектори са засегнати, някои от тях носят специална отговорност. Мисля си особено за медиите и за аудиовизуалния сектор. Всъщност, като си има предвид недостатъчното представяне на жените в тези сектори, е още по-трудно да се появи една по-разнообразна картина на нашето общество. Резултатите от инструмента за наблюдение на медийния плурализъм, който финансира Европейската комисия, показват, че в няколко държави членки има много малко жени в бордовете на обществени медии. Само в 2 държави в Европа ситуацията е различна. Швеция с 61% и България с 60%. Картината е подобна при създаването на филми. Само 1 от 5 филма е режисиран от жена – 21%. А огромната част от средствата за финансиране – 84%, отиват за филми, които не са режисирани от жени. Тези цифри представляват още по-голямо предизвикателство с оглед на това, че не липсват квалифицирани жени режисьори. Всъщност, те представляват 44% от завършилите студенти в тази област. Говорихме за ролевите модели. Ето защо избрах примера за медиите. За да вдъхновим, имаме нужда да виждаме филми, продукции, в които ролята на жената лидер е тази, която е изведена напред. Жената има нужда от закрила. Жената може да бъде и жертва в определени ситуации. Но жената е и лидер. Тя е двигател за растеж, тя е мотор за напредък. И така всъщност какво можем да направим? Отговорът за мен е в мултисекторния подход, който атакува дълбоките и сложни причини за неравенството между половете, за да даде възможност на жените да играят по-активна роля в нашата цифрова икономика. Този подход трябва да съчетава както политически действия, така и конкретни проекти. Поздравления за създаването на платформата. Конкретна стъпка напред. От това имаме нужда. Също и аз с моя екип сме насочили усилията си в тази посока. Само няколко месеца след поемането ми на отговорност да бъда комисар за цифрова икономика и общество, с екипа ми на 8 март в Европейския парламент в Брюксел представихме Европейска стратегия за жените в цифровите технологии. Тази стратегия е изградена на 3 стълба. Най-напред, борбата с стереотипите е ключова. Много често те са тези, които не позволяват да видим потенциала на жените, да им дадем шанс да го разгърнат. Една от инициативите, която започнах, е кампанията No Women, No Panel. Да, в днешния панел бихме казали, че липсват мъже. Но нека не се подвеждаме. Обикновено конференциите, посветени на правата жените, са с масово присъствие на жени. Затова искам специално да благодаря и да поздравя на мъжете, които са с нас, защото само така можем наистина да продължим да отстояваме каузата, че правата на жените са права на човека. И само заедно, мъже и жени, можем да направим така, че те да бъдат по-добре отстоявани в днешния свят. С тази кампания No Women, No Panel Отправям послание да не участвам и съм поела ангажимент в нито едно събитие, в което съм единствената жена оратор. Повярвайте ми, понякога е достатъчно само да сигнализираш на организаторите, че няма да дойдеш, защото няма жена поканена. И много бързо жените експерти стават видими. Панелът бива веднага запълнен. Подкрепени сме от другите комисари, от много членове на Европейския парламент. Получихме невероятна подкрепа в социалните мрежи. Тук също има представители, които в началото на конференцията ми споделиха, че са подкрепили кампанията ни. Искам специално да ви благодаря. На второ място, както каза и госпожа Безуханова, много важно е да популяризираме примерите за жени лидери в цифровия сектор. Те са тези, които служат за вдъхновение, които могат да насърчат повече жени и момичета да се стремят към цифрово образование, към повече реализация в цифровата сфера. Насърчаването на момичетата да поемат по пътя на науките, технологиите, инженерните специалности и математиката е от решаващо значение. Така наистина може да им се даде шанс да продължат образованието си в технологичната сфера и най-вече да изберат кариера в сектора. Нашето проучване е «Жените в дигиталната ера». Напомням, че това е първото проучване след 2011 година, в което разполагаме с актуални цифри. То показва, че за всеки 1000 жени, завършили висше образование в Европейски съюз, само 24 са завършили специалности, свързани с информационните и комуникационни технологии. От тези 24 завършили, само 6 жени работят в тази сфера. Това е феномен с голяма икономическа цена. Нека си припомним за цифрата, която цитирах в началото. В същото време имаме изследвания, които показват, че жените имат нужда повече и повече да разполагат с цифрови умения, като кодирането. Защото те представляват само 10% от една от най-големите международни общности, а именно програмистите. Тук Европейската комисия тази година, 2018, ще отбележи рожден ден, 5-та поредна година седмица на кодирането в Европейския съюз. Между 6 и 21 октомври отново във всички страни членки, в много извън Европейския съюз, ще направим така, че все повече и повече млади и не толкова млади хора да се запознаят с кодирането, за да бъдем не само потребители на съдържание, а да бъдем това, което никога машините няма да заместят. Да бъдем създатели, да бъдем иноватори, да имаме своите социални отношения. Тук също искам да благодаря, знам, че и в залата има хора, които активно участват, да ги помоля да бъдем още по-активни през 2018 година, защото по време на срещата на Европейската коалиция за цифрови умения и цифрови работни места поставих нова амбициозна цел. Искам в Европейски съюз до 2020 година седмицата на кодирането да обхване 50% от училищата в Европа. Убедена съм, че можем да го направим. С комисар Наврачич изпратихме писма до всички министри на образованието. Това е неизменна тема във всеки един мой разговор с дигиталните министри. Разчитам на всеки един от вас. Нека само си помислим, че данните ни за последната година са над 1 300 000 участници, 46% момичета. Скъпи дами, имаме още какво да покажем също. Искам да засегна и една малко по-чувствителна тема. Говорим, да, че жените са малко като специалности, свързани с комуникационните информационни технологии, че имаме все още поле за напредък в областта на предприемачеството. Но и нека обърнем внимание на това колко важно е жените да имат повече доверие в своите способности и интереси. Нека имаме повече мрежи за подкрепа между тези жени, които са се осмелили да споделят своята идея, да я развият и да искат да я направят още по-популярна с една цел – полза на обществото, полза на всички ни. Тук имаме изключително добри примери. Един такъв беше по време на последното ми посещение в Румъния. Срещнах се с момичетата на Клодет. Общност от момичета и жени, страстни програмисти, които провеждат събития, посветени на образованието, социалното включване и личностното развитие. Изключително важно е да има много повече такива проекти. Но и те споделиха. Липсва ни мрежа от контакти. Липсва ни обща, голяма европейска платформа, където да станат видими тези усилия. Бъдете сигурни, госпожо Безуханова, че това ще е една от организациите, на която ще обърнем внимание за създадената платформа. Това е, от което те имат нужда. Но не само образованието е важно. Важно е даването на перспектива за развитие. Затова ще дам и още един пример с Европейската коалиция за цифрови умения и работни места. Коалицията е създадена през декември 2016 година. В нея имаме 18 национални коалиции. Българската е една от най-активните. За нас това, което е изключително важно, е да продължим да подкрепяме партньорствата между заинтересованите страни и онлайн платформите, които обучават начинаещи жени предприемачи, които ги свързват с вече успели жени предприемачи. По този начин ролевият модел може да бъде изключително позитивно представен. Това е част от действията ни за отговор на статистиката, според която само 23,4% от предприемачите в сектора на информационните и комуникационни технологии в Европа са жени. Все пак, въпреки този процент, искам да дам и друга цифра от нашето изследване. Стартъпите, водени от жени, имат 63% по-положителни резултати от стартъпите, водени от мъже. Изключително важно е да продължим да подкрепяме предприемачеството на жените. В този смисъл искам да дам пример с една друга важна инициатива, която бих искала повече да популяризираме. Това е инициативата WeHubs. Тя е подкрепена от инициативата Startup Europe. Тя служи за връзка между жени предприемачи и улеснява пътя на жените, които искат да се ангажират с предприемачеството. За мен е също така важно добрите практики да ги направим по-видими. Ето защо. Чрез европейските награди за цифрови умения можем да покажем проекти, които повишават цифровите умения на европейците. Миналата година и с цел именно да подчертая важността на затварянето на тази пропаст между мъжете и жените в цифровите технологии, въведох специална награда за проект, който насърчава цифровите умения на жените и момичетата. Спечелилият проект IT for She има такава програма за млади жени, които изучават природо-математически науки, програма за обучение на млади момичета в селските райони, програма, която дава възможност на този потенциал на младите момичета да бъде разгърнат. Призовавам ви тази година, защото съм сигурна, че в тази зала има много такива проекти, да кандидатствате и се надявам да се видим отново по време на церемонията през декември в Брюксел. Нека обърна и внимание на още един важен елемент. Отстояването на баланс между половете в проекти, които финансира Европейската комисия. Службите под мое ръководство в момента правят оценка на ситуацията. Особено в рамките на програмата Медия, която знаете, че подкрепя развитието и разпространението на аудиовизуалните произведения. Това е задача, която съм дала на екипа да бъде направен анализ и в останалите такива, които са под мое ръководство. От дигиталните хъбове до киберсигурността, друг важен ресор, в който изключително вярвам в потенциала и експертизата на жените, до цифровите умения, образованието. Това са теми, които трябва да бъдат адресирани. Всички знаем колко важна е тази финансова подкрепа, особено в началото, когато търсиш да засилиш доверието в собствения си проект, когато имаш нуждата от мрежата, създадена на европейско ниво. И не на последно място бих искала да обърна внимание на ключовото участие, на едно от ключовите условия за успеха на нашите действия. Досега дадох и споделих с вас много примери. Други конкретни действия, които могат да бъдат предприети. От борбата с стереотипите, през ролевите модели, през популяризирането на добрите практики и през подкрепата на жените за предприемачеството. Но единственото условие, за да успеем, това е да работим заедно. Наистина, когато сме изправени пред необходимостта да съберем подкрепа, нямаме друг избор, освен да се вслушваме повече един в друг. Да напуснем удобната си зона на комфорт и да изградим най-добрите решения в общ интерес. Напредъка по въпроса за правата на жените да имат равни възможности с мъжете в цифровите технологии не засяга само жените. Това е отговорност на всички ни. Нуждаем се от ангажираността на мъжете, жените, училищата, университетите, индустрията, политиците, правителствата. Никой не трябва да остава изключен от възможностите, които предоставят цифровите технологии. Това е свят за всички. И става въпрос за това да използваме своите си европейски ресурси и таланти за подобряване на конкурентоспособността на нашата икономика. Пътят сред нас е все още дълъг, но аз съм уверена, че само заедно можем да скъсим разстоянието. Тази конференция е една много голяма крачка напред. Благодаря от сърце и пожелавам на всички ползотворни дискусии.
Thank you, Mrs. Gabriel, for the great keynote. You mentioned something really interesting, and I'm really big fan of the No Women, No Panel initiative that you have. And there you said, only through unity and collaboration of men and women, this is how we can deal with inequality. And if you actually look around us, we can see like the whole motto, the whole slogan of the presidency and actually of our country is that unity makes us stronger, and united we stay stronger. Just wanted to know that it's just important to be united, no matter what problem we are dealing with. I had to tell you something regarding the headsets. Yes, because today, as you see, we're switching between English, between Bulgarian and so on, and I see many of you do not have headsets. If you need one, you can either get one outside of the conference room, or you can just raise your hand and our colleagues will just hook you up with a headset. If there's no one with a headset but needs one, now is the time to raise your hand. Okay, we got two. Can you raise your hands higher? Colleagues, did you see them? You did. Okay, thank you. Going forward, mentioning again unity. One of the ideas of a coalition is to unite us. And if you still haven't joined the coalition that Sasha mentioned earlier, it's time to do it, or you can do it later. But that's just, it's something small, but it's something that we can express our support and our unity with. Carrying on with my numbers. Did you know that only 24 out of 1,000 women with higher education in the EU have completed ICT-related courses, and only 6 out of these 24 have actually digital professions. The European economy loses a total of, that's interesting for me, I didn't know that, 16.2 billion euro every year due to the dropout of women in the digital sector, according to a study of the European Commission. So, what are the work conditions within the ICT jobs across the EU member states? What makes the jobs different for men and for women? Why is gender pay gap, lower in ICT industry, and is the industry actually attractive to women? We will have the privilege to find out the answers of these questions from the people who actually do the hard job and read the real numbers. Dr. Lina Salanauskaite is a researcher at the European Institute for Gender Equality, based in Vilnius, Lithuania. EIGE supports the EU and its member states in promoting gender equality, fighting discrimination based on sex, and raising awareness about gender issues. Previously, Lina Salanauskaite worked in the EU Commission, DG Employment, Social Affairs and Inclusion. Lina holds a PhD in Social Economics and Social Sciences from Maastricht and Antwerp universities, and has an extensive research experience in the analysis of social protection and labor market policies, employment and social inclusion trends, developing using tax benefits, micro-simulation models, and other welfare, gender and socio-economic issues. Please welcome on stage Dr. Lina Salanauskaite.
Good morning to all. It's really a big pleasure to be here. It's an honor to give a speech here today. And actually, I'm very proud to present our newest research findings to you. I think it's about the first time I'm going to present to such a big audience. And given we are still having the final draft of the report that was shared just with very few stakeholders, I'm really, really happy to share with you our insights into the world of ICT jobs. At EIGE, European Institute for Gender Equality, we work on different topics, and ICT is something rather new. The topic came to us with the Bulgarian Presidency that asked us to look more closer into the field and to tell us what's happening from gender equality perspective across the EU. So today I will be presenting to you when my slides appear on the screen. I hope so they do soon. Our newest research findings, and we look into women and men in ICT jobs. And actually, as been told today, one of the biggest issues that one of the biggest challenges at the EU level at the moment is work and life balance. So when working on this research question, we actually thought, so what is about work-life balance in ICT jobs that makes these jobs more challenging, less challenging for women and men? So let's go further. Just to bring a bit more of the background, what do we see when we talk about ICT jobs? So what makes them different from other jobs that we have in the economies? So we know that there is a huge employment growth in ICT jobs. We don't see it maybe in other sectors. It's 8 times higher than the average employment growth observed in the economy. So what does it mean? It means there are shortages of ICT specialists. Lots of economies are not coping with such a demand. And actually, still, despite that, we have only 17% of women among the 8 million ICT specialists currently employed in the EU. So attracting more women to STEM actually is a big challenge, and there are lots of initiatives done to achieve so. And at EIGE, we have calculated at some point what would be if we would attract actually more women into STEM sectors, including ICT, what would give this to economies? This actually would lead to economic growth with more jobs and increased GDP over the long term. And so we have calculated these numbers, and at some point we could actually share. Now let's look, so what does it make ICT jobs in terms of gender equality? How do women and men perform there? What are their jobs about? Across the EU, to start with, so getting any job, you want to have an aspiration for it. And of course, at the teenage age, this is the slide that I wanted to present to you, the job is already done. It's not about the ICT skills, it's also about the motivation to get the jobs. So if we look into our teenagers at the 15 years old, we already observe huge differences between girls and boys. If across the EU from 3% to 15% of boys have an aspiration to become ICT professional at the age of 30, so these are their career dreams, we did not reach even the minimum among the girls. So not in one country at the EU level, we have 3% of girls who would have this dream, who would have this vision of becoming ICT professional. There are in a few countries that we will have, Bulgaria, for example, Malta, Romania, Estonia, we have a bit more, so more than 1% of girls, and these are the leaders that would aspire to become ICT professionals. So when we talk about how to attract more women into the field, We need to start very early. And what I wanted to tell today, at the teenage age, is almost too late. We need to start even earlier. So this is the first point to get into the jobs. And now let's look what's happening with ICT jobs. So at the EU level, at the Eurostat, we have lots of statistical definitions, and we love numbers, and we love categories. And so there is this category called ICT specialists. So these are the ones we talk about, and these are lots of different occupations and professions. So as you heard today, there are 17% of ICT specialists who are women. But of course, this is EU level, and we see there are lots of differences across countries. So you don't see the numbers, the country names somehow here, but they are there. So the first country is Bulgaria, that has actually the highest share of women in ICT. And the countries are actually grouped. It's quite difficult to see here. They're grouped in, you see 3 groups. So there are countries which are on the very right side, and these are the countries where the share of women was increasing. And on the left side, these are the countries where the share of women was decreasing within the last 5 years, let's say so. And in 4 countries, including the EU average in the middle, essentially there was no change. So actually, when we talk about changes at the EU level, we talk about very different pathways across the member states. And that's why essentially we stand still at the EU level. We do not observe any major changes, though, in any one country in the EU level. So we are all talking about small percentages up and down. Women still need higher qualifications to be in ICT jobs. And this is actually quite consistent across all countries. So if we look at the ICT service managers, professionals, and technicians, this is one of the largest categories of ICT specialists. In all countries, more women than men come into the field holding a higher education degree. So it takes for them this extra step to get and be in the ICT jobs. And then again, you see on the very right side, there is a group of countries, you don't see the categories here, and these are few countries where it's including Bulgaria, again, Romania, actually Denmark should be there also. There are few countries where the difference between women and men holding high tertiary degree in ICT jobs essentially is not existing. And then other countries, this would be on the left side, for example, Portugal, the difference would be about 30 percentage points. So there are so many more women who hold high degrees to be in the ICT field. If we go further, women in ICT specialists tend to work in gender diverse environments. We've heard about this today. And actually, what does it really mean? We see that if you see in the first part on the bars, who are the colleagues of women who are in ICT jobs? Women or men? What does it say about the organizations they are in, about the companies that they are working for? And essentially, we see that men, they tend to work only with men. So men is the second bar in the left slide, in the left graph. And women, 39% of women work with men, whereas 67% of men do so. So actually women, those who are in the ICT jobs, those 17% of women at the EU level, they tend to be in gender mixed environments. So they are in organizations where gender diversity is already higher, or they work with women. And also most of them, they would have, many of them would, or tend to have, they would have a woman boss. So it really tells also about organizational practices and also about hiring and about the chances of being in ICT jobs. There are still very different pathways of how women get and where women work while being in ICT jobs. So now let's talk about the work-life balance. So what are the ICT jobs? And at Gender Equality Institute, we recently looked into the labor market segregation. So we know there are jobs where women tend to concentrate in, for example, healthcare specialists or education specialists. And then we have lots of professions where we essentially have men concentration. So ICT, engineering, construction, STEM, lots of STEM fields. What makes these jobs interesting or attractive to women is, so let's say, if you work in the healthcare field, normally it's perceived still as kind of supporting work-life balance. So it's easier for women to combine work and family duties. Average weekly working hours in the U27 by occupational group and gender, that should be there, and you don't really see. So the first category, it's actually women in ICT, and the second category, it's men in ICT. And what you see there, it's actually the 42 and the 47% that is shown on this graph. It shows that women work, about 42% of women in ICT jobs. They work full-time, 40 hours and more. About 47% of men do so. So they actually work slightly longer hours. So majority of them, they are in full-time jobs and work slightly more. The other categories that you do not observe here is actually about healthcare specialists. So the group 3 is healthcare specialist women, and the group 4 is healthcare specialist men. So we see that in the healthcare field, women and men work slightly less hours. And in the bar 5 and 6, these are the rest of the workers in the economy. They slightly tend, women tend to work lower hours, whereas men tend to work about similar hours in comparison to ICT, to men working in ICT. Women and men in ICT work more often in their free time. So it's not only about the contractual hours, so how many hours we actually do. It's also about the hours that we do in our free time. So after the office, we leave the office. So if we look again, it's the same categories, employees' use of free time to meet work demands in the U28 by occupational groups. So the first and the second group shows women and men in ICT, and they actually do more work in their free time in comparison to the rest of the economy. It's not a very big difference, but it's still there at the EU level. Women and men in ICT also worry about work or not working more in their jobs. It's not about actual work. Sometimes it's also about these thoughts that are just scribbling in your heads, and you're thinking, okay, I have to do this, I have to prepare for that, I have to think about this. And that's what we actually see in statistics. So this is the life. So it's captured in the facts. So, but if you see in the first graph, in the first category and the second, women actually worry slightly more than men if being in ICT jobs. And it's actually also high in comparison to healthcare specialists and the rest of the people in the economy. However, there are also positive things. So this was about the long hours and about also the stress that we actually tend to bring back home. But we were quite surprised. We thought, okay, if we are comparing to healthcare specialists, which tend to be women, and it's supposed to be somewhat better for the work-life balance, we expect that actually maybe ICT specialists would compare quite well. No, actually, ICT specialists, I was surprised, they have less of a typical hours in comparison to healthcare specialists. Of course, they do tend to work quite some in evenings, nights, Saturdays, and Sundays, but also in comparison to the rest of the economy. So ICT jobs do have quite some predictability in their hours worked, and do not engage people to work in the hours that are kind of kept as a social in terms of family reasons. ICT specialists also have more flexibility in determining working hours. So we talk about autonomy of people to choose when to work, to have this flexibility to come into work 1 hour later in case you need to bring the child to school, to take an hour off away if there is a need for it. And we do observe that in ICT field, both women and men equally have this flexibility. So this is really a great thing from gender equality perspective that we wanted to point it out to you today. In ICT, gender gap in earnings is also lower than in other occupations. Yes, we still have the gender gap. It's there. The gender pay gap is there. But it is at about 13% if we look at the earnings, in comparison to about 26% among health professionals and 33% among other workers. So it is lower. The gender gap is somewhat narrow. More women in ICT also receive a higher income. But income inequality is still high between women and men ICT specialists. If, for example, about 70% of men and 54% of women in ICT are in the top 2 quintiles, so we have a quite stretch in terms of incomes of what people in ICT jobs earn. And we do observe still quite big inequality in terms of earnings that women and men have in ICT jobs. And finally, this is one of my final graphs to you to show today. It's about women and men and the children. So if I was thinking, if there would be one figure or one graph that I would like to show to you today that could just summarize this whole story about work-life balance in different occupations and different jobs. I would want to show you how women and men fare in terms of children. And this actually shows, you cannot see here, but it's supposed to show women and men in different age categories and different occupations. So I will try to point out to you, you see the 60%, well, the largest bars that you observe there are showing women and men who have children starting from the age 40 and above. So if we would look at ICT specialists in comparison to healthcare specialists and the rest of the employees, from age 40 or so, those who still have children, so they can be up to the age of 17 or so, so bigger children, but they are already there. There are no differences across the sectors. Essentially about the same share, about 60%, so 63% of women, 62% of men in ICT jobs, 65% of women and men in healthcare occupations have children. However, if we look at the younger generations, differences are actually quite strong. About 53% of women have children in ICT, amongst ICT specialists. However, much larger proportion, 68% of women do so in the healthcare field. So actually what we observe in terms of the children, what's happening in ICT jobs, women seem to tend to postpone having children in the younger generations. We do not observe the same kind of flat across economy children behavior. What we observe is actually either postponement or perhaps even possibility that the children will never appear anymore. So there is something to look, there is some generational change, and maybe there is a change in terms of ICT jobs or in terms of what happens, what does it take for you to be in the jobs, that actually if we look into the plain demographics, shows quite big differences across occupations. So we are posing a question, what do the numbers on children tell us? Is there a postponement of children? Is there the loss of the having children idea that is actually quite strong in the ICT jobs? And we do not want to make any big conclusions. We just wanted to bring it to you today. And also in this perspective of work-life balance and what do we think about the gender equality. So just to sum it up, a few concluding thoughts. ICT jobs already have a number of positive job aspects that I showed to you. It's less of a typical hours, and lots of these things need to be made more visible. So it is quite okay for women and men to be in these jobs if you want to quite well balance work and life, personal life. Still, however, unequal sharing of caring roles between women and men is a serious impediment for work-life balance, including ability to have jobs. This is the only domain, actually, so the time domain. How do we, how are we able to combine our work and personal life duties? So how do we get with this time that we have to invest in lots of different activities? And this is the only domain of the latest EIGE Gender Equality Index 2017, which shows a negative trend to the detriment of women. So it looks that women are faring better in lots of domains, so let's say power, health, employment, etc. But in terms of time, so combining work and family duties, women actually have a small negative trend across the EU. So what does it mean? It means that this sharing, this unequal sharing of family duties, it's not about job that much, it's about the sharing of family duties, is quite a big burden. And so now going further, increasing flexibility in working hours without a balanced sharing of total work, meaning what we do at work and what we do outside work, and care hours among women and men might actually create even bigger strains for women and negative spillovers between work and private life. So when we talk about how to bring flexibility into the jobs, it has to be done in quite some sensitive way. And one last point that I wanted to say today, and I didn't show in any slides, but it's actually a very strong aspect of ICT jobs especially. ICT jobs are very dynamic jobs. There is lots of need for training, for going forward, for getting new information. it's a very important aspect of future jobs. And there is something to think about for the future. Women not only have less time to give jobs, so as to be on the same threshold as men are, so how much time they can bring into the jobs. They still have also, it means the same thing, that they have less time to invest in training and lifelong learning, so there are circumstances, there are impacts for our future. And that's one of the biggest challenges for the future that needs to be tackled. To end it on a very positive note, I wanted to tell you that recently we have finished a project at EIGE, at our institute, where we've mapped across the EU different approaches and good practices in ICT sector. So how do different countries, how different organizations and companies go about bringing this work-life balance in ICT jobs? And we are about to publish a list of initiatives and organizations that actually have very interesting aspects of how to tackle the underrepresentation of women in ICT jobs. So this is the list from different countries, and they all have very positive aspects from one or the other way. And we are going to host them on our website, so if you are interested to see what exactly they are doing, it's going to be available there. So here I'm going to end, and if you have any questions to me, please come and raise those questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Salanauskaite. So we can say that ICT jobs are getting more and more interesting and more lucrative for women. But seeing the numbers, we can clearly say that there's a lot that we can work on and a lot that we should work on. And having the numbers, having a good base of understanding where we are right now, probably the next thing for us and for us to encourage and for us to do is to lead and to be leaders. And what a better way to start a talk about leadership than actually talking about what it actually is. About its authenticity and the power of being true to who you really are, about taking the stairs and climbing the ladder step by step, we meet Mina Dimitrova. Mina Dimitrova is head of Central Go-to-Market, Europe, Middle East and Africa at Google. Prior to her current role, Mina has held a business development role at YouTube. She was responsible for negotiating the commercial agreements between YouTube and BBC Worldwide, Channel 4, ITV and Channel 5. Prior to Google, Mina spent time as strategy consultant at McKinsey & Co. in New York and London. Mina holds a bachelor's degree in economics with honors from Harvard University and is member of Phi Beta Kappa. She completed her MBA with distinction in INSEAD. Mina is originally from Bulgaria, where she grew up and lived until her university years. She is actively involved in fundraising and supporting the Bulgarian charity Zajedno v Čas, or Teach for Bulgaria. Mina is a member of Rising Talents initiative of the Women's Forum for Economy and Society. Everyone, please welcome Mina Dimitrova.
Dobro utro. Good morning, everyone. I must say that this intro was a bit overwhelming, kind of listening to all of my accomplishments in one place. I meant this to be a bit more informal, so let me try to set us back to this is actually the story of my journey to today. And what I do want to start with is Plovdiv. I am originally from Plovdiv, and for all the Bulgarians in the room, you'll know that a person originally from Plovdiv never omits an opportunity to advertise the wonderful city of Plovdiv, which I will do. And for all of our international guests and all of our Bulgarian guests, please come to Plovdiv next year. Plovdiv is going to be the European Capital of Culture in 2019. So thank you for indulging me in this free advertising of my hometown. So I lived in Plovdiv until after high school. And actually at that time, if you had asked me, or if you had told me that I would be here today talking about women in digital, I would have laughed, not about the women part, but about the digital part. So let me start with that. I never considered myself a digital person. In fact, I did not have a computer or a cell phone until my second year of university. I was never the person to be in the latest tech gadgets. I didn't do computer science, and back in high school, I would write my college application essays on paper, edit them on paper, and go to an internet cafe to type them up. So those of you growing up in the 90s probably can quite relate to that experience. In fact, I wanted to be an archaeologist. I wanted to travel the world, study the past, find undiscovered treasures. If you ask me today, I think it was a factor of growing 5 minutes walk away from this amazing Roman amphitheater and possibly watching too many Indiana Jones movies. It's probably the second part was a key factor as well. Now, my parents really indulged and encouraged my dreams. But they also did something very clever. They said, you can be absolutely anything you want to be, but just make sure you get into the best possible university that you can and get the best possible education that you can. Now, of course, my parents are very practical Bulgarian parents, and they also said this is within reason, as obviously Olympic medals in swimming were not on the horizon for me, so I had to kind of really think rationally about what my options are. So I followed their advice, and I did the best that I could. And for those of you who are curious, you already heard, I attended Harvard University. I started studying archaeology, then realized that wasn't really for me, and I graduated with a degree in economics. And during the time, I can't stress enough, I had no idea what I wanted to be when I grow up. I did an internship at the United Nations in Sri Lanka the year after the tsunami. The following year, I did an internship in investment banking in London. So rather than listing accomplishments, what I want to stress is I had no clear plan, and whatever plans I had were as far away from digital as you can imagine. Now probably on to the women part. That part I've always felt passionate about. I have always felt passionate about gender equality. And when I was 15 at the Plovdiv language school, I had to prepare a topic for an oral exam. And as I was researching topics, I came across a topic that fascinated me and infuriated me, and it was the glass ceiling, and the glass ceiling for women. What is particularly important to notice here is it was 1997. And to say that the choice of topic raised a few eyebrows among my classmates and among teachers is an understatement. I was quickly branded the school's feminist, which was meant as an insult, but I have been a proud one ever since. So where does this leave us? Yes, I have always been passionate about gender equality and gender issues, and no, I have not always considered myself a digital person. Fast forward to 2008. Something happened. Something very unexpected happened, which resulted from a very ordinary lunch with a friend of mine who had recently joined Google. I joined her at the Google office in London for a lunch, and that's when my life kind of took an unexpected turn. I was, of course, a fan of Google products at the time. I was an early adopter of Gmail and Google Maps. And again, I have to highlight it's mostly because my friends told me they're fantastic products, not because I was this natural early adopter of technology. At the time, I was working at one of the leading consulting firms, and when I told my friends there that I was considering applying for a job at Google, they applauded me as being brave and taking a risk for joining this unconventional, smallish company at the time. So this also shows how far the digital world has come in those last 10 years. No one would ever question or wonder about anyone joining the digital world these days. At the point when I applied for the job at Google, I had no experience in internet technology, digital advertising, sales, you name it. In fact, until about a week before the interview, I didn't have an idea of how Google made money. So I did have quite a lot of learning to do before my interviews. Luckily, the team at Google was looking for fast learners, dynamic thinkers, strategic thinkers, and they thought I fit the bill. and they weren't so worried about my lack of experience. So really, that lunch in this colorful office of this small, fast-growing company completely changed my career trajectory. One other thing that I should mention as well is that I was planning this Google job to be an adventure for a year or two before I go off to do my MBA and then go back to a more serious and traditional sector. Clearly, my plan didn't go to plan, and here I am 10 years later. Lately, I have been thinking about what has made me stay in this industry and at Google in particular, in kind of this fast-moving world. I never thought I would be with the same company for 10 years. And of course, the most obvious answer is the fantastic growth that the fast-paced innovation of this industry allows. I've had an opportunity to work across business development, strategy and operations, across a number of parts of the company, like YouTube, DoubleClick, AdWords. So I've really managed to pack a lot of experiences in the last 10 years. But really, professional growth is not enough to keep you in a company if you don't have the other elements. And I think we heard from various speakers earlier today about the people element. So if I have to reflect on what really keeps me going and what has made me stay where I am for the last 10 years, I think I can boil it down to 3 factors, and the ex-consultants in the room that will know that consultants always think in 3s, so I had to come up with 3 reasons. The first one is the freedom to be true to myself. I feel that I can be authentic and I can still succeed. I don't need to follow a predetermined model of leadership. I feel that I can truly bring my best self to work. That often includes sharing my cultural peculiarities or odd stories about growing up in Bulgaria, or my passion for banitsa, yogurt, and feta cheese, and regaling my colleagues with stories about growing in a world without Disney characters. Today, I manage a team of 20-odd Googlers spread across Europe, Middle East, and Africa, and we come from 12 countries. And I'm so proud that we can create an environment where all of us can have a fun and enriching experience working together. And I do believe that the digital world and the digital industry is one of the only industries in the world that can create that level of diverse experience. The second one that has been really a big enabler in my life is role models and mentors. We heard about role models earlier as well, and I want to share my personal story. I have worked with a number of amazing inspirational women leaders over the years, and they have really showed me that there is a place for women leaders in the industry. And seeing these role models was incredibly powerful in my own personal journey. Early on in my career, I worked with 2 female managers who were very different from each other. They were very different. They had very different styles of presence, influence, problem solving, and seeing those 2 women succeed despite being completely different characters was really empowering for me, because I knew that there was space for my own unique leadership style as well. The second element, obviously, is mentors, and mentors are your trusted advisors who will challenge you and push you and advise you on taking the next risk, opportunity, growing your career. And I have been very lucky to have mentors, both male and female. And they have also created opportunities for me, and they have built my confidence that I can take that next step and next job that feels too big for where I am today. Now, I realize that not all women have had that opportunity to have these role models and mentors. And unfortunately, the world, the digital industry, Google still have more to do on progressing the agenda of diversity and inclusion, and we need to hold companies to a higher standard of their diversity agendas. We also need to make sure that we challenge bias, unconscious and conscious, in ourselves and in others. The last and final area is very personal to me and very important at the moment. It is the flexibility and control I have to configure my life in a way that makes sense to me. And the reason is that I'm the proud and very exhausted mom of a 2- and a 4-year-old. And yes, this conference is a holiday for me. I get to stay in a hotel without kids. So really thank you for the opportunity to take this personal holiday. Yeah, I can see that people in the room who are in a similar situation appreciate this as well. When my husband and I decided to have children, we really had to have a very serious think about how are we going to create a sustainable model for being present for our children and building our careers. And both of us pursue ambitious and quite intense careers. And since having kids, I've taken advantage of different flexible working setups. I feel that I have the control to actually bring everything together. So my husband and I both have rarely missed bath time and bedtime for our kids, and we have made it work for our family and for our careers. And I feel that I'm supported in this by my manager, by my team, and I have control, which is incredibly important, I believe. And again, we also heard some of the facts from Lina. I think this industry is one of the few industries in the world that can actually offer its people the flexibility that they need to bring work and life together and to have fulfilling personal and professional lives without going crazy. And before I leave you to enjoy the rest of today, I also must say that I'm really proud to be a Bulgarian woman in digital, and I'm not going to repeat the stats that you heard today about Bulgarian women's participation in the technology sector, but that is really inspiring. And there is one final story that I want to leave you with, which is linked to the power of Bulgarian women all around the country. 2 years ago, we launched the Digital Garage in Bulgaria, a free online training platform for everyone, from students to small businesses to entrepreneurs. This is a training platform that offers digital marketing skills and ways to succeed and build a business online, using tools both from Google and from other companies. And the really great girl power stat here to notice is that 50% of the participants, of the 26,000 people trained in Bulgaria, were women. And I have been really impressed by the many examples of female entrepreneurs who felt empowered and used the web to grow their businesses. And one example is Rosie's Mark, an online shop offering foods, ornaments, and jewelry made of Bulgarian roses. And we will hear from the co-founders, Ina and Rusica, later, so I don't want to steal their thunder. But it is companies like theirs that will help Bulgaria and Europe grow faster and further. And it is female role models like the co-founders who will help girls dare to reach for the digital stars, if you will. And as I finish, I want to leave you with this thought. In my personal experience, the digital industry can be a wonderful place for everyone. And it is at the forefront of the agenda of diversity and inclusion. And I do believe that Bulgaria can be at the forefront of that movement as well. Thank you.
Mina, thank you for making your talk so informal. I loved it. And thank you also for sharing stories from your personal life. When you talked about the parenthood and being a mother, I recall the story of a friend of mine, which had to be on the stage here today, but unfortunately she couldn't make it. She said she got twins several weeks ago, or actually months. And she said, well, I thought it's going to be so big of a break from work, having kids and dealing with them. But now what happens, I make coffee in the morning and I drink it in the evening. So all of you ladies, current mothers and future mothers, thank you for putting in the time for raising the humans of tomorrow, because that's a big deal. Like the whole world, at least planet Earth, is depending on you. So thank you. Applause for you. And carrying on forward with personal stories, I really love that part. We are going to be talking about authenticity. And if authenticity is enough to turn people into effective communities, and what makes them impactful? Mary Jo De Leo will be sharing her personal story of a community and network builder. She is from the Netherlands and works as a partner, cybersecurity and innovation at RevNext. She is also the founder and vice president of the International Network Women in Cybersecurity Foundation, counting over 1,000 women worldwide. In 2012, Mary Jo and two associates founded the WICS because they wanted to set an example for women working with the field of cybersecurity. Mary Jo founded the Dutch think and tank Internet of Toys, where scientists, toys manufacturers, and politicians meet and discuss the breaches within connected toys and also the lack of privacy and legislation loops within it. Everyone, please welcome to the stage Mary Jo De Leo.
What an introduction. Thank you so much. Well, first of all, I wanted to say thank you to Mina because, you know, we're here in Sofia, but I really, really need to go to Plovdiv. I don't know if I pronounce it really good, but it sounds like a plan, so maybe next year we should all go there. The title of my presentation is Together We Dare, because one of the main reasons why my Women in Cybersecurity Foundation turned into be 1,000 women is because we're all in it together. One of the questions I get on a daily basis is, how on earth did you ever get in cybersecurity? So just to make sure I don't get that question during a coffee break or while we're having lunch, I will explain it to everyone. So if you have a look at the left-hand side of the picture, this is 1982. By then I was 7, and this is when I got my first computer game. I brought it with me. It's still here. This is what got me hooked. It's still working. So for those of you who just came into the world of digital, please come and talk to me and experience how it was in 1985 when I played the Donkey Kong. Also, it has no plug for earphones, so normally I try to play it, so when I'm in the traffic jam in Holland, you can play it, you will not get fined. But now, these days, all the phones have earplugs, so it makes noise. So this is the reason why I didn't play it while I was sitting at the front row, because I didn't want to disturb all of the other women. And if you'd like to come along, just ask me. Well, this is 1982, 1983. I got my Commodore called 64. I don't know, are there any women or maybe men who know what it is or who have played with it? You still have it? No, you don't have it? If you come to Holland, and it's for all of you, I have kind of a museum in my house, so I have not only this one, I have the Commodore 64, the first Apple SE, Atari, everything you ever dreamt of or will be dreaming of, as if from today, I'll still have it in my house. The Commodore 64, for the people who don't know it, it had a cassette deck, so there were signals on it. One of the things you could do with the Commodore was you can broadcast it and even get a second deck and try to manipulate the signs, the codes. So this is where I try to become a coder or try to become the next, I wanted to say Mark Zuckerberg, but I don't think that will cut it today. So I wanted to make just great games, didn't work out for me, so now I'm here. Well, I did that until 1994, when I went to University of Applied Science in Utrecht, Holland also. And during all these years, when I played all these games, I played it with either my nephew, or my neighbor, or my uncle, or my father. I think you should all notice there's no women involved in this story, because there weren't any. Everyone who come along my road, they were all men, until I hit university in 2000. And then I met just one other woman at university, so there were like 1,000 people and 2 women. But we made each other a promise, stand up, together, we're there, let's have fun. So in 2012, I met, who's now my associate, her name is Anouk, and we were hired by the National Cybersecurity Center, where I was, apart from the secretary, the only woman. So on my first day, some guys came up to me and they said, "Woman." And I was like, "Is there a question? Woman?" So I felt kind of unhappy for it being that woman. But I try you now. Now that I'm here, let's make some fun. And within 2 months, my now associate Anouk came along. And we decided, so now that we're here with the two, maybe we should, get organized. So together, we dare and stand out in the crowd. So when we flew to London to be a keynote speaker at the conference, we just stood at the back waiting for our time to come to be on stage. And while we're there, one guy asked me to hang his coat. Another guy asked me if I knew where he could find the toilets. And I was like, seriously? You're asking me this? Wow. There's no guy in that room that day who'd ask me in how many languages I was able to code. But still, there I was, trying ask people to hang coats, serve lunch, or I don't know what else they want me to do. So we thought we might as well start a foundation, and then we started the Women in Cybersecurity Foundation. And as told, we started it with 3 women, and nowadays we hit 1,000, and I will show you later on how we did that. One of the things why we wanted to do that is because we felt very uncomfortable being on stage, but also being asked to hang a coat. So we thought if there aren't many role models in Holland, maybe we should create some. I'm not telling you I wanted to be that one, because I was really, really, really afraid of stages, really, really afraid of media, television, newspapers. I couldn't bear it, but I thought just get in a foundation and we'll create some other role models, not knowing that I would be here in 2080, telling you I was afraid of standing here. Used to be. So, in 2012, we created the Women in Cybersecurity Foundation, and we work by 2 rules only. It's very simple. In order to get from 2 to 1,000, we work by 2 rules only. First rule, stand out in the crowd. As I told you, one of the things I won't do if I'm in a room full of men, and men will glare at me, telling me, "Oh, we're so thirsty, we really need some coffee." I'm not getting the coffee, really, I'm not. If there's a meeting and someone says or asks, "Is there someone who likes to summarize the meeting?" I'm not gonna be the one, I'm telling you. So, stand out in the crowd, but also learn how to say no, and watch what will happen. So, prior to coming to Sofia, I was in Istanbul. I was a speaker at the Internet of Things Asia conference, and this is one of the things what I do when I travel around the world, is that I would ask other women who need help. So please let me know. I'm going to be in Istanbul, in Sofia, Plovdiv next time I hear it, and also in Macedonia next week. I'll ask all women who need help, who needs a shoulder to cry on, or let me explain you how to do stuff. So this is what I do. So it has 99 likes, but I got about 200 messages. I got invited by a big newspaper tomorrow. I got invited in Istanbul by women business clubs, cybersecurity women, and this was in order to get ahead of the problem. So in order to get more women into cybersecurity, we thought we might as well help all the women in the world we can reach out to. So even if I go to Dubai, I just post a Twitter or put something on my LinkedIn calling all women. So this is what we do. The other rule, I think you all know her, Madeleine Albright. I really love her to pieces. She would tell you there's a special place in hell for women who don't help other women. I totally agree upon this. The only thing I wish is that I would have come up with the quote, but furthermore, I really love it. So one of the things is I have coffee at least once a week with just one other woman I have never ever met before in my life. But since I'm really active on social media, LinkedIn, for example, I get a lot of messages from women who want my help or needs advice or whatever. So this is what I do. Once a week, I have coffee with someone I have never met before in my life, just to help. So also what we do with the women in cybersecurity, if whenever we have a get-together or we have drinks, we tell all of the women, bring a friend or bring another woman. We'd like to expand the network. So in order to get more women ahead and work for within cybersecurity or create more roles, we need to know all of the women who are working within cybersecurity in Holland. So we help each other. And the previous slide about the special hell, there's something I'd like to point out as an example what happened in Holland. We had an argue with the biggest newspaper in Holland because they were running all stories about IT and cybersecurity, but on a daily basis it was like 100% of men. So we started a hashtag, and if I translate it, it's something like, you cannot find a woman. Why can you not find a woman? So then the main editor asked us if we would like to be in his newspaper, and that meant for 6 weeks long we hit a front page of the newspaper. It's the biggest newspaper in Holland, right? So instead of the women who were part of our network, instead of helping us or trying to say thank you for being a role model or getting the word out in the field, women sent messages to the main editor telling him, you're really putting her in the newspaper? Really? She with her whatever, long hair, fat ass, whatever. Really? Can you just cut her out of the paper and put me in it? And I was like, you're supposed to be my friends and you're putting me down. So I think this was the end of the friendship, but this is the main thing I have to say. Don't put other women down. It won't help you. You know, we need to stand together and watch what will happen. So one of the things, and some are in Dutch, so I'll only point out the one at the left-hand side is Esther. And she says, because of all the things I've done, and I try to help everyone and stand out in the crowd, she said, I'm so impressed and inspired by your profile, etc., etc. So when you stand out in the crowd, when you help each other, you will see what will happen. And I will tell you, you will wake up every single morning feeling very, very happy. Well, is this all? 1,000 women sounds like a great number. It is. Oh. But we still have a long way to go. And this is the story. It is a picture of, I think it's a 3-minute movie, so you can see where we came from and where we are now. Thank you. Well, this is my final words for here today is thank you for the chance of telling my story here. And I have just one last question for you all. Please, ladies, I encourage you to be the wind beneath someone else's wings.
Do you remember in the beginning, I mentioned that in Bulgaria we have a digital army of great women leaders in tech? Mary, I think you have a legion if we have an army. So that's pretty cool that you're doing there. It's really inspiring. And I really love the fact that you kept the Nintendo. I would love to play with it after that because I'm a big fan of Nintendos. Carrying on forward, by definition, leadership cannot be done by one person. We've seen this already. We've said it not once, not twice, but several times. And successful businesses are run by leaders who know the power of diversity and the strength behind unity. We have the privilege to introduce to you Kate O'Riordan, who is the Chief Product and Information Officer at the Financial Times. She is ranked 9th among the UK's 100 most influential CIOs and in 2017. Prior to joining the Financial Times, she worked in a number of senior product roles, including Vice President of Product at digital music company Shazam. Kate was also behind the BBC's cross-platform digital strategy for the London 2012 Olympics that set a new digital standard for live event coverage. About the power of diversity and some surprising good news, please welcome Kate O'Riordan.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for that lovely introduction. It's been a really quite amazing last 12 months, I think. Harvey Weinstein, Me Too, the President's Club. It's been an earthquake for gender politics. The revelations should put an end once and for all to the fiction that women have achieved gender equality. It's been an eye-opening year for both men and women, and it's been a lesson that the things that we think are obvious are not quite as clear as we think to other people. Many of us now clearly understand that the way that society treats women in a myriad of ways is not acceptable and must change. The FT has played its own part in exposing some of the unfairness that women experience. Our reporter, Madison Marriage, went undercover as a hostess at the Men Only President's Club, which was a charity fundraising event like no other. She discovered that the specially hired female hostesses were groped, harassed, and propositioned by the guests. The story got worldwide exposure. It had 2.1 million page views and resulted in a number of follow-up scoops, not least of which the President's Club has now shut its doors and is no more. Under rules introduced last year, UK employers with more than 250 workers are required to report the difference that they pay men and women, and the deadline for that first round of reporting was last week. So we now know for a fact that 3 out of 4 UK companies pay men more than they pay women, with an average pay gap of 9.7%. Gender pay gap reporting in the UK and across Europe and around the world is just the start of a drive for greater transparency. Now, I think we've heard some really interesting facts this morning about the proven benefits of a diverse workforce for businesses, the improved ability to engage with a more diverse client base and succeed in a wider number of markets, and a rich talent pool, competitive advantage in labour markets, better, more creative ideas due to synergy amongst contrasting approaches, and really importantly for me, it enables sustained and sustainable growth in our company. So across the FT, we've embarked on an all-business programme of experiments, initiatives and policies to ensure we're making the best use of the benefits of a diverse workforce. And because we are a publication, we're not just looking at our workforce, we're looking at our readership as well. So we've started with partnerships. This is massively important for us, and it's one of the reasons why I'm here today and very excited to be able to talk to you. These are just a few of the partnerships that we have in place already, and we plan 10 other media partnerships with women's advocacy organizations in Europe, US, and Asia Pacific in 2018. These allow us to support advocacy organizations and increase the profile of our writers and editors and external experiences. And we offer a bespoke development trial, and we give partners free 3 months access to the FT, which hopefully, as you know, is a subscription-only product. Like here, we have to set the tone. No financial staff or journalists are allowed to sit or moderate panels that don't have women. We don't participate in manels. 40% of our news broadcast appearances are now by female journalists and editors, and almost 50% of the FT external speaking engagements are from women journalists and our staff members. I'm going to talk a bit more about products and technology, which is the department that I run at the Financial Times. We have between about 350 to 400 staff, and whilst as a company, the Financial Times is 50-50 men and women, in product and technology, we are 70% men to 30% women. Now, looking at some of the data that was really excitingly shared earlier today, we're doing better than our competitors, but it's not good enough. And we need to get to 50-50 by 2022, which is alarmingly close now. We're just 4 years away from trying to get to that target. So how are we doing it? We're largely doing it by pipeline. Any of you here who are trying to hire senior women know how incredibly difficult that is to find well-qualified senior women, shortlist them and get them into the business. So we're really concentrating on the junior end of the scale. And we've partnered with several organizations in London, one of which is Makers Academy, and the other one is Kubrick. Makers, they're both effectively conversion courses. They take people who have little or no experience in engineering, Makers turn them into engineers, and Kubrick turn them into data scientists. And via that process, we've hired 15 junior engineers into the FT over the last year or so. And what we're finding is that because those women already tend to have had real-life experience of working in the workplace, they're very job-ready. They may not be the most skilled engineers. They're doing between 12 to 15-week courses, sometimes 16, something like that, before they join the FT, and they're in and coding with us. But what we're finding is that they're so incredibly excited to be an engineer at the FT, that they're hugely motivated, but also that we're seeing that they're tending to accelerate quicker through the ranks because of that job-life experience that they have already. They're job-ready, they're very, very hungry, they're very, very excited, and we're seeing that those women that have joined us are quickly progressing through the ranks, through engineer, senior engineer. I was also really interested to see the data from the gender equality presentation earlier today that shows that women want to work with other women, and we've found that time and time again, which is that we don't want to stick out. We want to be amongst our peers. We want to just get on and do a job. So we find that by having a cohort of talented engineers within the FT, that we're getting other women coming to work with us because they want to work with the talented women that we have here. And we're incredibly fortunate to have 2 extremely talented senior women engineers at the FT. Sarah Wells, newly promoted into the Technical Director for Operations and Reliability, and she's leading a newly formed group that brings together existing delivery enablement and first-line support teams with a remit to transform the way FT supports delivery teams, executes our monitoring, and improves reliability. And this week we've had Anna Shipman join us at the FT from the Government Digital Service in the UK, where she was the open source lead and technical architect there. And she's leading our award-winning technical team that runs the FT.com website that we relaunched in 2016. And the other reason why I'm here today is that we're opening an office in Sofia, and we will be hiring. So if you are a talented engineer and you want to work at the FT, please come and find me at the break, because if I'm going to hit 50-50 by 2022, I'm going to need very, very talented Bulgarian female engineers and other people in technology coming to work for me. So please do come and find me. I want to talk about the newsroom as well. Our product at the FT is our content, and that is what people think about when they think about the FT product. They think about our fantastic quality journalism. I want to talk to you about a focus group that I attended last year of senior and mid-level women who were massive FT fans, read us every single day, and credit the FT with being part of their success story. But one of the things that we do in user testing is we ask people to say, if the FT was a person, who would the FT be? And to a woman, every single one of them said, if the FT was a person, the FT would be a man. So despite being pink, we are heavily biased towards men in terms of our readership. Only 23% of our readership are women, and we want to get that figure back up. We want to get that figure up, not least because it will help drive our business and make us successful, but also we know that reading the FT is a phenomenal part of a lot of people's success story. We want to share that business knowledge with a wider group of people. So being the FT, we start with the data. We always start with the data. And what we looked at was to see whether there was a difference between the kind of content that women read to the type of content that men read. And what we found is actually that men and women's reading preferences aren't really that different. Like men, women read us for our core news coverage, for our world coverage, our companies coverage, comment and markets. However, women are more likely to also read other sections from special reports, a strong interest in working careers, as well as our fantastic life and arts content. And that represents a growth opportunity for us. We've increased the number of female columnists. Having talented female journalists, high profile within the FT is really important to us. And we've added new editorial voices, including Rana Faruha, Peter Clark, Sarah O'Connor, Isabella Kaminsky, Courtney Weaver and Joe Ellison, to name just a few. My team invented JanetBot. So JanetBot is named after Janet Yellen, who, until she recently left the Fed, was one of the women who was regularly featured in the FT. And what we've done is created a Slack bot, basically, that automatically alerts editors when the number of images of women versus men on the front page of the ft.com website falls below a particular threshold. Now, they can decide what to do with that information, but it's really just a nudge to say the number of women on the front page has dropped, and prompt them to think about actually who do we interview for stories, who do we get, the speaker before me talked about how important it is to have high-profile technical women and other experts featured in the press. It just prompts them all the time to be thinking about what our coverage looks like. So by changing the perceptions of the FT, it requires us to project us slightly differently, and we need to be welcoming to women readers, but we also need to accurately reflect the wide and diverse world that we cover. We're also experimenting with other forms of reaching women. One we launched in the last couple of weeks is called Long Story Short. It's a new premium newsletter for our subscribers, and it's written each week by a different journalist. It's personal and engaging, and it picks stories that we think will engage women readers. Importantly, it's selecting content based on insights from our data, from our understanding of what kind of content women are reading. And what we know is it isn't fluffy or lifestyle content. It's the core content and the news that all of our FT readers rely on to stay informed in a fast professional culture. So we're testing what formats, voices and editorial strategies work, and what we're finding is it is working. So 51% of the readership of this particular newsletter are under the age of 34, 88% of the readership is female, and it has a really high net promoter score, which is an indication of loyalty. It's 60% NPS score versus the FT's already high NPS score of 40. On video, we've produced a series of interviews with women who founded successful businesses called the Women Founders Video Series. It looks at the leadership challenges of women entrepreneurs, and these are proving incredibly popular with both men and women members of our audience as well. So what are our goals? What we're doing is we're gathering and collating data from our products around women and engagement to inform our editorial decision-making, increase the promotion of content that will grow reach and engagement with women readers and help change the perception of the FT, and we'll continue to experiment and learn. But it's really important for us to set realistic goals. The FT is speaking with one voice. We'd all like that 23% figure to go up massively, but we need to understand this is a long-term objective, and it'll require a common approach from all parts of the business. So what we're hoping to achieve is to raise awareness, to bring in data around women engagement that can inform editorial decision-making, to promote content, to grow and reach and engagement, and importantly, help change the perception that the FT is a publication for men. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for the great examples for the power of diversity. And now I know it's time for the long-awaited coffee break, since we had such a long session since the morning. What I would like to ask you for a permission is the following. We, of course, as every single conference done on the planet Earth, we're late. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a conference. So I would kindly ask you, if you agree with it, to make the coffee break shorter. And instead of 40 minutes, do it into 15 minutes. Do you think that we can squeeze in 15 minutes? Okay. I accept this as a green light that we can do it. So let's be back here at 12:15 or 12:20. 12:15 is a good target for us. Thank you. Shall we slowly get into the conference room? Let's do it. If you hear me outside of the conference room, we are just starting the second panel, and it's going to be interesting.
Записваме, Аш.
Yep. Yes, we're on. Okay, we're going to be starting. If anyone is still outside, they're just going to come in. Something that I forgot to mention is the location of the restrooms is down the stairs in the hallway. So that's an important thing to know. An important thing also to mention is why we are trying to get on time is because we want to be on time for the lunch. We never want to be late for a lunch, right? We don't want an angry audience in the conference, so it's all good. Okay, the next panel. It's difficult to admit that in the 21st century, we are still subject to stereotyping. It's a fact. There is this common perception of women in tech that you all know about. This session is designed to battle these stereotypes by showcasing examples. Because what we do, as we know, is louder than any words. We have the true privilege to hear 5 strong women sharing their perspectives of the digital she. Now I have 6 ladies to present to you. Each and every one of them has a different name, and pronouncing names for me is really important. So I'll try to do it in their natural, like, as it's said in their language. So we have Zornica Rusinova, who is the Deputy Minister of Labor and Social Policy. We have Kristina Stoicova, who is the Senior Director, Professional Services Center of Excellence at VMware. Bear with me now, we have a Spanish name. We have Sabela Garcia Cuesta, nice, is the program manager at Next Media Accelerator in Hamburg. Then we have Jana Cosby, who is an executive producer at XVP Studios. And then we have a French name, Isabelle Dumortier, who is a serial digital entrepreneur. Please, may I have your applause for these amazing ladies.
It's my first. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very happy to be part of this conference,
And I'm very happy to be exactly in this panel, She, the leader, and the digital she. Why? Because I'm representing the Ministry of Labor and Social Policy in a very special moment, the Bulgarian Presidency. One of our key priorities in our presidency is women in the digital world. Bulgaria, based to EU statistics, I have prepared a short presentation. Maybe there is a way to show it. According to European statistics, Bulgaria is a kind of a leader in the participation of women in the ITC sector. The EU average percentage is 16%, and Bulgaria is a leadership with 30% participation of women in the ITC sector. And the good news is also that there is no pay gap between men and women in that sector. That's why we thought that on European level we should first acknowledge the Bulgarian experience, and then thinking about the future and thinking about all the policies that are also priorities for us, working life balance policies and better participation of women in the labor market. We can put that on the table of European ministers of different formats and trying to find good solutions. Let me also share with you some figures. Why we have decided to talk about more and why women should be more engaged in the ITC sector. According to a study that was made by the European Institute for Gender Equality for the Bulgarian Presidency, the forecast by 2020 showed that more than 500,000 ITC specialists will be needed on European level. Only 70% of all the ITC specialists around the world are women. The EU is facing difficulties in responding to increasing the shortages of ITC specialists and filling vacancies requiring digital skills. Why we think that we can support women to have better participation in the ITC sector? First, because it's a way of providing more flexibility. ITC specialists have more flexible working hours. So for women that take care of dependents and they care of children, care more about families, it's more important to have flexible working hours. Also, if we compare ITC sector with health sector or with other professions, typical hours are less common, so which means that women can predict their working hours and can have better work-life balance. Also, according to this study, women tend to work in more gender-diverse environment, so that's why they're more flexible to work in the ITC sector. The ITC sector, compared to also health sector, for example, or other professions, has a little bit less percentage of gender pay gap, which is 13% in the ITC sector, like the average in the other profession is 33%. Among health professionals, it's 26%, so it's a good motive for having more participation in women in the ITC sector. Also, we should think what to do, because still girls are not very much attracted to the ITC sector. So when we talk about what are our challenges, is to first acknowledge the fact that there is a good opportunity for girls to have better participation, to provide good backgrounds for developing skills working in the ITC sector, and also to find the good legislation solutions on national level and on European level for improving the work-life balance. That's why, as a horizontal priority, we have also put on our table the Work-Life Balance Directive as one of the key dossiers of the Bulgarian presidencies that we should obtain a general approach by all member states till June. Because this directive aims at higher participation of women and providing more flexible hours, providing more flexible legislation for better participation in the labor market. I'm really eager to hear the other presentations because me as a politician, as a woman, I think that one of our big aims should be to try and to acknowledge the leaders, women, and to acknowledge the girls that want to deal in the ITC sector, because it's a good way to have better participation and a good way to have high incomes and better balancing of the family life and the professional career. Thank you.
Okay, so do you hear me? Okay, it's working. So my name is Kristina Stoicova, and I will try to give the perspective of the business as a person who is running a services team within a software development company. I would like to give you a little bit of a different perspective on women participation and diversity in general. So first of all, what we do at VMware is we develop products for virtualization, data center management, and cloud services. But what we really do, and why we exist, is to help companies achieve the digital transformation that they need to achieve in order to stay viable. And by doing that, I would like to first focus on a couple of digital trends that we all experience and that we are not just observers of, but we are participants in. And those digital trends are things that no one in this room would be surprised to hear. So first of all, we have the Internet of Things booming. The number of things is increasing at a phenomenal speed. And last year, there were more than 8 billion things that are connected over the Internet, and they are growing at a high percentage. But it's not really about the things. It's about the data that those things produce. Thank you. So just a little bit of a...
No, that's mine.
Okay. Okay. Maybe I can click through.
Go left. Push the left button. There are many. Yeah. There.
Okay. Let's see. No.
Please don't
okay.
chew.
No. Okay, forget about the slides. just you can look at those ladies at the stage and hopefully listen to what we have to say. So, as I said, IoT is one of the digital trends, and we have billions of things that are connected over the Internet. And it's not really about the things, it's about the data that they send over. So now we have a sheer amount of data that can help businesses drive useful business outcomes that can really transform anything from healthcare to manufacturing to smart cities. On its hand, this sheer amount of data that we have is pushing edge computing development because we need real-time processing and decision-making based on that. The sheer amount of data that has to be transferred over the wire is pushing mobile operators to more quickly adopt the 5G technology. At the same time, technologies like blockchain are breaking out of the financial industry, and they are going into all kinds of industries and applications. And last but not least, artificial intelligence is becoming a commodity technology today. So it's clear that IT is breaking out of the data center, and it is going to our homes, to our pockets and pocket devices, and is affecting every aspect of our life. And all of those digital trends are driving the digital transformation at a higher speed than ever before. And they are driving the ICT sector growth that Deputy Minister Rusinova talked about. So while we are experiencing this huge growth in the digital world, at the same time, we have these troubling statistics that we just heard of a very little percentage of women are actually employed in the ICT sector. When we look at the software development industry, it's an even lower percentage. Only 9% of the developers are women. And as we move up the career ladder, the percentage of women who are employed at board of directors of companies, that are CEOs of companies, becomes even lower. And as Deputy Minister Rusinova mentioned, we are facing unequal pay in this sector as well as other sectors, and unfortunately, the picture is not improving over the last couple of years. So what I want to talk about is why this is an important thing to focus on. Besides the just human decency factor, which I guess we can all agree with, what is the business sense and what is the value of bringing in more women into that sector? So first of all, when thinking from the perspective of a company that is developing a product or a service, in order for that product or service to be successful, we need to know our customers. And when we look at who is actually the main consumer of digital technology nowadays, well, the predominant factor in that are actually women. Yes. So I don't know if you would be surprised to learn that. I was surprised to learn some of that statistics. But women are making more than 80% of purchasing decisions, either as direct buyers or as influencers of those decisions. It looks like women actually use more mobile applications than men. Also, statistics shows that women are more likely to shop online than men are. Also, women are more active on certain types of social media and more likely to buy products that they interact with, with the brands of those products at social media. So it looks like from a market perspective and knowing the customer and the consumer of digital technology, it is very obvious that it's important for businesses to understand the profile of those consumers, and those consumers happen to be women. So then it's very logical that if we are developing an artificial intelligence service for things like voice recognition, for example, or face recognition, it does make sense to have women developers and to have women validating those products and services, not only men. And there are some cases that we hear about where we see a certain technology not performing that well when doing voice recognition of women's voices, for example, because of the mere fact that not enough women were involved in the development process. So that's the market aspect. Besides the market aspect, there is a pure business profitability aspect. And again, there is sound statistical proof that startups that grow extremely quickly, so those are startups that grow more than 200% a year, are 70% more likely to have women co-founders in them. So there is a clear relationship between participation of women in the executive teams and in the founding teams of startups and the speed at which they develop. And this is not only true for startups. When we look at bigger companies, when we look at corporations, there is statistics that shows a strong correlation between the level of diversity that those companies have and their profitability. So companies that have bigger diversity, especially in their executive teams, are more likely, about 30% more likely to be outperforming the average market for the specific industry. And finally, when we think about long-term business sustainability, it is very obvious that women and men bring different perspectives into the mix. So we have different risk appetites, we have different time span focus, and again, there is statistical proof that the more different perspectives we bring into the mix when we think about product strategy and company strategy, the more sustainable the businesses are. So all of those data points show that it does make sense and it is worth investing into fixing the challenge that we are facing. But what can we really do about it, and what companies like VMware are doing? So first of all, when we talk about diversity and inclusion and gender diversity more specifically, this has to do with culture. And when we think about culture, culture is something that's driven from the top. So the first prerequisite that such initiatives are successful is that the most executive leadership of companies gets personally engaged and personally drives such initiatives. And at VMware, for example, we have the members of the executive team, C-level executives driving those initiatives, and this is providing great results because there is top-level support for the initiatives. Furthermore, those initiatives cannot be looked like something that's aside from the business, that's happening at an event, that's one-off, that's event-based, but those should be very well integrated with the business operations of the company. And an example of that is integrating this diversity aspect when we think about things like recruitment, staffing, career progression, performance evaluation, staffing of projects, etc. So those are things that on a daily basis we are looking at when staffing projects, when selecting candidates, when looking at resumes during hiring, that helps us make sure that something that's called unconscious bias does not really affect our decisions. So unconscious bias is the second big thing that we need to address. And very often when we think about bias, we tend to think, oh, I'm not biased. I'm making my decisions based on objective criteria. But in fact, that's why it is called unconscious bias, because very often it is outside of our conscious mind, and sometimes it even conflicts with our conscious values. And what we can do about that is, first of all, bring up awareness. And the way we bring up awareness is through training, through information, through a better understanding of what unconscious bias is. And for example, I was personally surprised to learn that women are more subject to unconscious bias about gender diversity than men are. So we also have to walk our way to understand what it is and to realize when sometimes maybe we ourselves are stopping ourselves by the way that we think or by the decisions that we make. Then the third thing is not just limiting ourselves to gender diversity. Diversity and inclusion is about anything that starts from age, race, ethnicity, and different backgrounds, different viewpoints of our challenges. And finally, there is no silver bullet, obviously. With that big demand and big appetite for qualified talent, if it was an easy thing to fix, we should have fixed it already. Given the huge amount of money that the ICT sector is losing because of lack of talent, but it is not. So finally what we can do is address it on a very focused basis, not try to have one-size-fits-all solutions, but rather than that, have solutions that are really relevant for the business area or for the geographical location. Like, for example, if we are trying to increase the number of women in sales, probably we will be using different tools than increasing the number of women in software development. So to wrap all of this up, we are all responsible for driving change that we want to see. And I think the direction is clear, but each of us has to step up and has to play our role and our part into doing that.
Can I take a clicker? Sure. So that's me. I'm sorry, I need to stand up. I get nervous when I sit down for a long time. So we're here today to exchange ideas, thoughts, experiences, learnings. But I really hope and I wish that we are also here to be able to share our problems and try to find some solutions. I'm the program manager at Next Media SHEleader in Hamburg. I've been doing this for the last 3 years. And actually, I came here with a problem. My problem is I can't find enough women founders, women in tech, that apply to my program. We've been running now 7 batches in 3 years. Sorry, the next one will come up in July. And we've got about 500 applications in total. From those 500, you can guess easily how many of those were from women founders or co-founders, and how many of those were actually the CTOs. I can count them with the fingers of my hands. And I think, and I believe my duty is really to change this, because it's obvious, because I want to change it. And sometimes we believe when we want to change things, we need to start very big. But that's totally not true. when we want to change something, the best way is to start with our own environment, really close to us. We can talk to friends, to family members, co-workers, and create a little impact in our environment so we can impact later on to bigger audiences. So I asked when these questions came to my mind, how can I change this? I asked a very good friend of mine who's totally in another different industry, super traditional. I asked him, why do you think there's so little, like not enough amount of women in tech? And his answer really shocked me. He said, Isabella, because guys in tech, they're nerds. Women, do they really want to be nerds? like these guys in the Big Bang Theory, no women want to be like them. I was like, oh, Jesus, this is what people think. So that's a big problem. All these stereotypes, please, let's break them, because, I mean, it's funny to watch this kind of series, but please don't think that this is the truth. It's not always like that. So breaking stereotypes leads me to another stereotype. I co-organized last year 10 hackathons in Germany together with different media houses, and I brought some pictures to show you.
Oh, dear.
There's one woman there. I mean, I'm not saying there were not women. There were a few of them, but very little. Like, it was not enough. And I realized that's another stereotype, the word hacker or hackathon, that really scares people. And the hacker culture, you might imagine someone with a lot of pizza and greasy hands coding in a really dark room. Why? No, it's not like that. We tried to change that. In 2015, we co-hosted the first Startup Weekend Women in Hamburg, and that totally changed. There were many women coming. We had a great time. They were also coding, and not necessarily in dark rooms with pizza and greasy hands. So, you know, this was like a kind of way to show that we need these more inclusive events. And there are many organizations and many events that are now providing these women in tech tickets. I actually like it, because this gives the possibility to women that are curious about it to actually have the chance to just check it out, and if they like it, you know, it's something we all want. It's great. All women events, well, you know, that's really not for me, so hopefully we can get like more balanced events with women and men all together. And we need definitely more inspiration. I'm really happy some of you mentioned already you found really nice role models. I could not find any until I found Sheryl Sandberg. It was really nice that she actually sent us this video this morning. I started reading her book that she published 5 years ago, and I have it with me. I'm not finished yet, but I found it really inspiring. In the cover of the Times, it was in 2013, I think. It was because she's, don't hate her because she's successful. That's what is written. And I need to quote her shortly. Here she says, if a woman pushes to get the job done, if she's highly competent, if she focuses on results rather than on pleasing others, she's acting like a man. And if she acts like a man, people dislike her. Or in my own words, and I'm sorry, people think, oh, she's a bitch. Most probably, really. So please, let's change that. I've got some colleagues of mine. We work together from Google News Lab in Germany, and another friend of hers is Sasha. They started the Role Models podcast. I can also recommend it to you. And please, if you have any other inspirational place where you can find these role models, women, share it with me. I'm super happy to get as much input as I can today. I will start reading also the FT section covering women in business. I find it great. And last but not least, education. That's the most important point. If we start from the beginning, then we'll get people attracted in tech and in these kind of leadership roles. So I was researching what's out there for kids right now, and I found really cool things like these games. And you learn coding with colorful games, and I find it super fun and easy. And I used to love playing computer games when I was a kid. I really loved it. I was a freak, staying the whole day there, forgot to eat. And my father saw the opportunity, and actually he came home once, I think I was 12 or 13, with a book similar to this. It was how to build your own website on HTML. Well, it was like this thick, super unsexy, so I gave it a try. I promise I gave it a try, but then I gave up. It was too much for me, so boring. So I wish the people had, like the kids at my age, had the opportunity to have this. But yeah, Let's change that. So here, we are the ambassadors. I told you, let's start spreading the word with the people in our environment. So please just tell them to attend events, go to hackathons, forget about these stupid stereotypes. And if you have kids or the kids of your friends or whoever, like, why don't you suggest, these funny games? It's just like, why not? Let's give it a chance. And having said all that today, because I'm running out of time, I just would like to say, please, if you know any women co-founders, women CTOs with a super nice idea in media tech, send them my way, because I want them in my program. And I hope we can keep the conversation later in the lunch break or any time. Please reach me out. I'm here also looking for inspiration from you. Thank you.
I think I'll stand up too. Okay. So now I'm overwhelmed with technology. I have this. That worries me more than anything. Do I go back? Do I go forward? I think it's just this one. I am Jana Cosby from Chicago, and I am a content producer. So I have developed films and worked in live television for the last 35 years in my career. And I didn't know I was an anomaly. If you don't know that word, it means I didn't know I was a rare person in my early years. In my career, I came from a family of, my mother was one of 7 women, 7 sisters, and during the Great Depression in the United States, her father was a tobacco and dairy farmer in North Carolina, and he was not rich, and all 7 sisters somehow all went to college, all had degrees, and all became very successful in their own right. But they did not do that alone. They did it by helping one another. So the oldest sister went to nursing school, and she came back and helped the next sister, who went all the way down the line, and my mother was next to the youngest. And by that time, we were in the 20s, 30s, and 40s, and my mother became a IRS agent, which, of course, we don't like them very much, but she was one, and then she moved to Illinois and became a clerk at the city hall, and she ran the city hall. And of course, she ran our lives at home as well, but with very Southern style. She was very suggestive. Suggestive meant you did it, and you did it with a smile. But as I grew up, my father and my mother, as some of our earlier speakers spoke to, were never told you couldn't do anything. You were told, what do you want to do? Which gave you this option of thinking. And I saw video and film as being a game changer for the future. At that time, there was television for children, and the children's television was shaping the way kids were thinking, and they were learning so quickly. And I said, I want to use media to teach or to teach other people. But then I got into broadcast television, news. I was one of the only women that graduated from a large university with a degree in television broadcasting. I was one of the first women directors of live news in a major market. And on from there, I went into corporate work for businesses to make movies for them, because I said, corporations are audiences. So why don't we make the same quality of work inside a company as we do for the media? And I was one of only 2 women suppliers to the global McDonald's system. I made films around the world for McDonald's in Europe, India, China, Latin America, put on large symposiums, and I was in charge. I hired many women, but I also hired men. There was no distinction in my mind. It was who was best at that work. As I raised 3 children through that whole process, I found out gender is not the issue. My daughter, Kat, can do anything digitally. She has such an amazing gift. She bails me out of every one of my computer issues. She can network me anywhere, and my son can barely turn on the computer, and he's 18. And I was like, at first, my gender preference, I started thinking, what's wrong with him? He's a boy, he should be able to do this. And I went, oh, how gender, nuanced I am. He doesn't have an affinity. It's not his passion. My older daughter can manage this entire organization and the city of Sofia, and we would all be marching at the end of the day. Each of my children is so different. And I just want to encourage all of us to find that passion inside of you. What is your personal gift? And that gift will make a way for itself. And don't ever limit your possibilities. Those possibilities are mainly, we limit ourselves and our minds. Do you know how many men I ran up against in great resistance? In college, I was directing the news. It was one of our graduate classes, and we had to earn that position. I was the only woman, and I was paired with a very chauvinistic man, of course, who was very angry that he was put with a woman. He said, my grade will go down. They put me with this woman, and she's a girl, and she'll be terrible. And of course, I wasn't, and he was. and the only reason he was is because he had an attitude about me. He put his feet up on the console. I would be calling the news. Okay, ready to take camera 2, stand by. And I would be calling it, and he would put his feet up and reach over very nonchalantly and push the buttons. And he missed several buttons on 2 shows. He was fired. And it goes to show attitude is everything. Education is also. I didn't go to the best university in the world. It was very high in my degree, but it wasn't that. It's about faith and belief in yourself and empowering people around you to believe that about you. I am definitely raised by a Southern woman. I am not loud and aggressive, but when I say, do you think perhaps maybe we should clean out that closet and put all those videotapes in a different order? That means get your butt off your chair and put the damn tapes away. And when people learn your style, you don't have to be someone else. Be yourself, be your best self, and go forward with your life. This is a big game changer for all of us. As a news producer, my first camera was $35,000. My editing system was $100,000. That's what it took to be in this business. You want to go try to get a loan with that, and I'm a woman walking in, and I would like to put in an editing system. I had to prove that I wasn't going to stop and have children and go home and make toast. I had to show them I meant what I meant in my business. Now people are making videos from just their cell phones. Women and men are staying home and blogging. Content is coming from everywhere. Should it be done professionally? Yes, it doesn't have to be done at the same level of cost. So nothing really can stop you from what you want to do now. I just encourage you, find your passion and go for it. Thank you.
Jana, you're preaching to the choir. Wow. Hi, everyone. My name is Isabelle de Mortier. I'm 29 years old, and I'm so happy that we have a live stream because my mom is watching. Hi, Mom. She was normally joining me here in Sofia together with my son, but due to my last-minute changes in travel, they decided not to anymore. Now, my mom is my big example. And I wish I could have told her that when she was sitting here, but now you're listening in anyway, so that's great. She retired a few months ago from a 600 people student school, 120 teachers. And my sister and I arrived at the party. She didn't know there was a party thrown. And we were there, and we really, really enjoyed it because she got a great party. People made a song for her. Everyone was there, even like every part of every team that ran the school brought her gifts because she helped so many fugitives in Belgium to learn Dutch. And the weird thing was, when we were at home, she would never tell us about that. So we knew our mom was like a strong woman, right? When I was about 9 to 11 years old, they had a big failure with their business, a bankruptcy, and she decided to start off from scratch when she was 50. She went into school sitting next to 21-year-old students and going to class with them. Can you imagine? I'm 29, and I can't even imagine that right now, to want that. Now, the difference between my mom and I is that I really don't mind standing out. I really don't mind telling people what I'm doing and what I love doing and what I think is important. So when I was 18, I set up my first web shop. It was in piloting materials, so it was super niche. I got it made in India, Pakistan, and it was designed in Australia. I learned it all from this little book from Timothy Ferriss called The 4-Hour Workweek. And when I was about 20 and a half, I sold it, which was great. Then I got into offshore development, was super interested about it. Just like Mary Jo, I was completely into Nintendo and all those kind of things. I was a nerd, big time. but I loved it. Still a nerd. And with the offshore development, I ran against the wall with my head a million times. I almost went into bankruptcy myself, but got enough hours into it to save it, so I'm really proud of that. And afterwards, I got into consulting in digital transformation. And there is a place where I met one of my first role models who wasn't a family member, and that was Tim. And Tim really gave me the opportunity to do anything I wanted. He took me to board meetings of the largest government corporations in Belgium, and he let me present. I was 23 years old, and I was telling 85-year-old guys in suits what they had to do with their digital appearance online. And he really taught me that you can stand out, and if you know what you're talking about, you have to go for it. So taking a role model on is one of the most important things I did. After 7 years of doing this, I started thinking, why am I doing this? Why am I in this rat race, right? I'm an entrepreneur. I constantly have ideas. Like, go on a holiday with me, and I promise you, you get a notebook full of new ideas. Like, my head's like Google, 100 tabs open all the time, which is a lot of fun on one side, but on the other hand, why are you doing this? Why, right? And 2 years ago, I joined the EO organization, which is an entrepreneurs organization, where they really focus on why. Why are you here on this planet? Like, why are you doing this? And it was around the same time that I started a new business called the Tutu Shop. That's why I'm wearing a tutu, by the way. And it's a really cool business. Now we're about 250 tutus a week. We ship worldwide. Our largest part is Belgium. And I truly believe in the lean way of running a business. So you get into it. You really know what your clients want. You listen to them. So after starting a first pop-up shop, I was standing there in the store, and I get girls coming over, and they're like, I think I'm too fat for that tutu. Ooh, isn't it too poofy for me? I don't think this will suit me. It suits her, great, but it's not for me. Like, I can imagine a lot of women are thinking that right now. But it is something that makes women so feminine, right? Because it goes around your waist and you feel like a princess. And Cinderella never asked for a prince. She asked for a night off and a tutu, right? So, thank you. So I started listening, and what I heard is that girls want to stand out, and we see it on social media. How many fashion bloggers are online? It's crazy. How many girls are online showing beautiful pictures, but when it comes to the real world, they're scared of stepping up. Why? Because we have a lack of confidence. We're used to playing second base. That's not cool. We can stand out. We can be first place next to men, and I hope that this kind of conferences aren't needed anymore in a few years, because I kind of don't like them. I'm really happy they're here, but why is there a difference between men and women? There's not a men leadership conference, and it's because we have a lack in confidence. And I really want to help girls get that confidence, right? And the tutus helps, but at the same time, if you think, for example, what Sasha mentioned this morning about women getting a lower paycheck than men, why is that, right? Because we shout it out everywhere. And I wonder, why is that? And I start asking myself that question 3 times, 7 times, why? Why? And what I end up with is that most of the time, we think we don't deserve that kind of money. And honestly, if somebody comes and works at my company and joins me, they have to negotiate for themselves, right? It's their responsibility. I ask them, what do you want to earn? And I'll decide on that if my company can pay for it or not. It's not about I'm giving men more than women. And maybe, definitely, if I would have a choice, it wouldn't make a difference. And if men would have a choice, maybe there is. Maybe there is a bias. I don't have enough numbers about that. There probably is. But right now, we need to find our own confidence and be super proud of the amazing creatures that bring life, right? And what I really want to ask you today, I just have one question. That every girl and every boy you have in your life, every man, every woman, right, deserves to shine their light. Just like Jenna said, it doesn't matter if it's digital or anything else. Just follow your talents, follow what you're great at. Because if you shine your light and you lead by example, you'll have other people grow and you'll give them the permission to shine their light too. And that way, those women where Mary Jo was talking about, who don't want to support other women. Because what's that about? It's all confidence. It's all confidence. They want to protect their own little world because they don't think there's enough for everyone. And there is enough for everyone. There's an amazing world, like literally. You have one chance in 400 trillion of being here on this planet. There were a lot of Spurs fighting for you to be here, right? And you got here. And you should, like, every day realize how amazing that is and what a gift. And follow your gift and shine your light. Just make me that promise, and I'll be the happiest girl ever, because even if you reach only one person, same for me. If I reach one person today in this audience, it's been worth the whole trip to Bulgaria. So, thank you.
So, hello, can you hear me? Yes, perfect. Unfortunately, we have to say goodbye to one of our guests. But thank you for being here.
I'm very sorry that I have to leave you. It was my real pleasure to be with all the girls on stage. And I really believe what you all two said, that be shine and just follow what you want to do and follow your talents. Thank you.
Thank you. As sad as this is, it kind of frees up a chair for me. So I will sit down. Perfect. So shortly, who am I? What am I doing here? Why am I sitting here with this lovely, great, empowering women on stage? My name is Reka, and I'm the curator of TEDx Vienna. Who in the audience knows the TED Talks? If you don't, shame on you. Just quickly look them up on TED.com. So we are an inspiration conference, sharing new ideas, new innovative ways of doing things. And I'm running the show in Vienna, so to say. So my day-to-day job is giving people a voice and sharing their ideas. And my own real passion is to give a voice to women, because it's, believe it or not, very hard to find female speakers. So we really, really try hard to make that gender balance also at our conferences. So when I heard about this conference, I was super excited, and I was like, yes, it's something we need, something I want to be part of. So that's why I have the honor to be here today. Now, I know we are pressed for time a tiny bit, so we will try to keep it short and sweet. But I would also encourage you guys to really listen to the conversation, because we want to make it a conversation between us, between you and us, so kind of all of us together, and we will have 2 to 3 questions at the end of the panel. So if you have a burning question you really want to ask the panelists, just, you know, shoot up your hands, and we'll let you ask it, okay? So just keep focused and let's get rolling. Now, there are a lot of things we discussed today. And this panel is about digital femininity and women in the tech IT sector and all that. And I think I would like to start with Christina for the first question. As somebody who is in a very high up leadership position, how do you feel, what is your role, maybe also because we talked about role models before, your responsibility to foster bringing females into this sector, into this whole sphere of digitalism?
Yeah, so as I said in the keynote, I believe we all have a role. So I personally have at least several hats that I wear. From the perspective of being at a leadership position within a software company, my responsibility is to make sure that, first of all, my personal view of the world is a balanced view. So I am, within my role, I am responsible for hiring and growing professionally people within my team. So from the perspective of personal responsibility and accountability, I am really looking at different aspects, validating, making sure that the decisions that I'm making are really well-balanced decisions. But then also, being in such a position puts you necessarily within visibility, within the spotlight at certain points. So to me, being a good role model myself, or being able to serve as an example is also very important. And this is not just within professional life, it's within all spheres of life.
Absolutely.
Even when being completely outside of the work context, talking to people who know nothing about virtualization, data centers, and how they are being managed. I believe that I have something to say. And we do a lot of things. We go to universities, we go to schools, and I find it very inspiring when I show up at a school, for example, and they are both boys and girls, and they are listening at my story, and you can see how their looks change, and they by the questions they ask, you can feel that there is the influence. And as it was mentioned, if there are just several of those girls and boys who change something in the way they think, and this puts them on a different path for the future, that's a great accomplishment and very inspiring for me.
So putting like little sparks into their heads to let them grow.
On a day-to-day basis.
On a day-to-day basis.
Not just conference basis.
That sounds amazing. Funny enough, a little fact to share with the audience. Just recently, a couple of days ago, I read a study about how female leaders act differently if their subordinate is female or male. See, male leaders don't do that. They don't distinguish how much they support their subordinates, no matter what gender they are. But females do, and they actually foster and they engage more with their male subordinates, which is, in my opinion, a bit interesting and sad to some extent. We heard before there's a special place in hell for women who don't support each other. And why is that? What do you think?
Well, I think it boils down to the unconscious bias that we talked about. And as I mentioned, to me, it was also surprising to learn that women were more subject to unconscious bias than men. But it also has to do with self-confidence as well. So the way a woman thinks about herself necessarily affects the way she perceives other women as well.
Exactly, and how she probably will be treated, I guess.
Yeah.
Perfect, thank you. Now we'll move on to Isabella, talking about the unconscious bias and all. From inside information, talking to her yesterday, I heard that she managed to gather only females in her teams. So she managed to recruit a lot of amazing women next to her. Now, can I ask you, why did you do that? Did that happen consciously, unconsciously?
I didn't do it on purpose, that's for sure, but it just came up that they were the girls that I liked the most to work with me, and we're very little, right? So we're just 7 co-workers all together, and when they came, I liked them, I hired them, and we're working together, and there is not at all, like what you mentioned before, any bitchy behavior from my side. I mean, we are just equal. I actually love working together with these women because I'm learning a lot every day. I used to work just with men, and this is for me also a new chance to find out how to behave with them, because I don't want to become this bossy, horrible lady, not treating them well. So it's for me also an experiment.
Okay. Do you see any skill differences between males and females in that field, so that they have more skills? That's why you hired them, different skill sets, maybe. So what was... Do you see differences?
I cannot say that because I really believe we could have the same skills. It's not that I'm hiring someone to build bridges, really. So they don't need to be strong people, and I don't know. It's just like you just need to have what it is. And it was just by chance that there were more women coming to me. So really, totally random, totally equal. Actually, I would love to have 1 month, so I'm looking for a student to do it.
Guys, it's an offer.
Yeah, because it's the same we were talking about before. What I said, I don't like women-only conferences or women-only events. So, you know, now we're lacking some men. It's totally the opposite situation.
Perfect. Now I would like to move on to Jenna. You mentioned that you kind of fought your way through a very male-dominated sphere. So coming back to that topic maybe a little bit, what kind of skills did you need in order to make it?
Well, I was fortunately, the university that I attended, I changed universities from a private school in liberal arts to broadcast television production. And there's a distinction in that school between sales, you know, being a performer on camera, and I wanted to be behind the camera, which meant I had to technically catch on to everything and learn it very well. And so I could not have fear of technology. And many people now in my life say I need a technology infusion because there's so much new technology. I've had to go from film, my first assignment, and I believe it was done to trip me up. God forbid someone would do that. Sent me out with the film camera. I had to load the camera both with the video, I mean the film, but also the sound, which was a double process. I was never taught to do it. I was put out in the field, and I said, okay, I have to come back with this film because we're airing this tonight. Then I had to figure out how to process it. Then I had to figure out how to edit it, all in the course of an afternoon, and with very little instruction. Now, the men in my class were instructed, and I wasn't, and I didn't know they were. Again, that's, you figure these things out over time. And so I applied myself, and I asked, just like women ask for directions, right? We don't care. What, I can't find it, you're going to tell me. So that's what I did. And anyone around me, I employed support and help. I didn't pretend like I was a damsel in distress, but I also didn't pretend I knew something I didn't. I said, damn it, they need this film tonight, and I'm going to darn well do it. And so I did. And then I got it into this. Then I had one more step. I go into this telecine room. I have to load it into a projector. Now, I don't know if you have ever done that, but if you miss the sprockets, it goes like this on the screen, and it's terrible. You can't see the film. This was filmed. This was back in the day. It was just only one semester of this, and then we were into video. But I had to load it. Then I had to push the button that said to the director in the studio, and I had to go on with the speaker and say, the film is loaded. God forbid, it's not. And that's what he heard. And he was like, oh, damn, did she really load it right? And all those fears. And of course, it did go well, and it played, and I was thinking, I was on my knees that night. And later on, I was sent out with the first video gear that came from Sony. Sony sent it to our school because we were the #1 school in broadcasting, and I was the first person sent out to shoot with that footage, shoot with that camera. I came back with footage that was very easily edited. I got an award for being the most easily edited piece, but it's because I paid attention, and everything I did, I had to learn as hard or more than the people in my class, but I didn't know that I had to. I didn't know that I was in a struggle. I just accepted that was what I had to do. And I've never had a bias or a prejudice one way or the other with anyone I've hired. I've always hired people who are best at what they do or love what they do. If they're passionate about it, they're normally very good at it. So that doesn't matter, male, female, and I have had really a mosaic of people in my career, and I've launched 5 women businesses as a result of working for my company, and all of them are working throughout the world.
Wow. Can I add something? I totally believe it's about being passionate about something and also curious.
Yes.
Like for me, it's curiosity personally opened me the doors. I didn't know, I got a job at a digital agency. They were programming websites and apps, and I had no idea. I just wrote an email, dropped by, and I said, look guys, I'm really curious about how you develop apps. And they hired me.
Oh, that's great.
And I was like, what, really? Are you hiring me? But I really know nothing. It's like, yeah, but you're super curious and you're passionate about it. So come on, join us and find out.
And you do have to be as serious about your passion. You can't just go, I love making films, isn't that great? I'll be so wonderful one day. No, you have to do the hard work. I edited something one time, this was so old. I mean, this is why technology has just moved us into such a different century. I was doing an audio edit, and I had to, it was a big end of my year project, and it was all, they wanted to know if we could learn all that. Because if you are able to touch and feel and make things, you are actually able to understand how it goes together. And so I think people who've passed and missed that sometimes miss the value of knowing how that goes. So I was editing I did a story on climate. This was back then, and this was my idea to do, and all the different coal gasification, all the different ways that we can heat our planet and heat ourselves. And I interviewed children, and I had all these little adorable pieces, and I didn't know how to do it. How do they edit all these pieces of tape? So I got Scotch tape and taped it on the wall of my apartment. then the air conditioning vent came on, and they started flying, and my cat decided to play with all my pieces of my documentary. And I had to fix and cut and put it all together, and I learned such valuable lessons by trial and error. And then I went back and said, so how do you do it? Well, there's a studio, there's a place we could do it. And that's just learning and being curious and asking questions.
Perfect. So we heard passion is important, we heard curiosity is important. And I hear a lot of times that women have that special skill or personality trait of being very resilient. Now, we heard your story before of, you know, almost failing at one point and trying something new. And is that something that you feel is really important? Is that something we have? How do you see that?
I think it's a part of life, and it's a big part of getting somewhere in your life. The people I know that have gone through hardships in their life are most often the people that end up in the highest ranks, because they know how to fight. And they know that other people made this building and other people decided how the roads are. So you're just as capable to change that, right? And I think, yeah, definitely hardship is, I was bullied really hard when I was a kid. And yeah, those kind of things, going through the bankruptcy, almost failing myself as well. I think it's just a part of my life, and I think I am here, I'm where I am today. I wouldn't be sitting here. Really wouldn't be sitting here if I wouldn't have gone through those things. So yeah, and resilience is, for an entrepreneur, for sure, one of the basic traits you need.
Any other trait you would add to these three combos that we just talked about?
I think positivity, for sure. For being an entrepreneur anyway, it's you have to be positive, because a lot of shit hits the fan on a regular basis. And you want to turn that shit into fertilizer, and that only works when you're positive.
That's a lovely quote. I think I will tweet it later on. Thank you so much. Now, when I listened to your keynote, you mentioned that you had one role model that kind of guided you through a lot of years and brought you to a lot of events. And funny enough, it was Emil. Is that correct? Was it a conscious choice? Did it just happen by accident? But would you also maybe give the audience as an advice when looking for a role model, a mentor?
Actually, I have a lot of mentors in my life, and I try to find the people that are specialized in their business to mentor me. It starts sometimes with me writing an email, yo, I think you're amazing. Can we have a coffee? In a bit more of a dear sir, dear madam way, of course. But I end up being mentored right now by really amazing people, and I'm talking about CEOs of billion-dollar companies. I'm talking about someone that manages one of the largest media broadcasting companies in Belgium, and it's amazing that I get to have their time. I'm learning a lot from a CEO at an investment fund. Those kind of things really help me. I must honestly add that next to my mom, I have my sister who's amazing. I have my dad who's amazing. They've always pushed me to try whatever idea I had. So that's really, really nice, because they wouldn't mind me failing. But I must honestly add that today I'm putting together a board of directors. And I'm having a really, really hard time finding the right women for it.
How come?
Because well, funny enough, one of the women I asked last week, she reacted, yeah, I'm getting this question more and more often, but I first needed to go through training to really make sure that I know what I was talking about. She leads one of the most amazing companies in Holland, right? And still she needed that confirmation that she was okay to do it. So I think there's just right now not many women leaders that want to, or there are probably a lot that want to step